There will now be an opportunity for silent prayer or meditation. Thank you. Please be seated. Order, honorable members, the first motion on the order paper is in the name of the Chief Whip of the majority party. The Honorable the Chief Whip.
Honorable Speaker, I move that the House, in notwithstanding Rule 29, which provides for the sequence of proceedings, give precedence to motions on the ordered paper followed by the executive statement and members' statements, and deal with the notices of motion and motions without notice before the order of the day. I so move.
I now put the motion. Are there any objections? No objections. The second motion on the order paper is in the name of the Chief Whip of the Opposition. The Honorable, the Chief Whip of the Opposition.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I hereby move that the House notes with great sadness the passing of our friend, brother, and Shadow Minister of Public Works, Kenneth Mubu MP. Further notes that before joining the Democratic Alliance Parliamentary Caucus, Honourable Mubu served as the Director for Africa at the International Relations and Partnerships Directorate at the University of Pretoria. Acknowledges that Honourable Mubu was born in Lusaka, Zambia, and further acknowledges that he held a BA in Education from the University of Zambia, an MA in Journalism and Public Relations from Ball State University, and a postgraduate diploma in Management from Leicester University, as well as a certificate in Public Relations Management from the Public Relations Institute of Southern Africa. This House recognizes Honourable Mubu's contribution to building South Africa's constitutional democracy through the various roles he held in his lifetime, and conveys condolences to his family, especially his wife Nombulelo and children Kenneth Jr. and Tari.
I now call on the Honorable Rabutabi.
Madam Speaker, to the Mobu and Mbeu families, honorable members, today it's exactly 10 days from the day we received the sad news of the passing away of one of our own, an honorable member of this House, a stalwart, a gentleman, a husband, and a friend, Kenneth Sililo Mobu. Kenneth was born in Lusaka, Zambia, on the 15th of June, 1953, to parents, Mrs. Ennis Notulu and the late Mr. Davison Mobu. Ken, as he was affectionately called, was a graduate of the University of Zambia with a Bachelor of Arts degree in education, majoring in English and geography. He also held a Master's of Arts degree in journalism, public relations from Ball State University, USA, and a postgraduate diploma in management from the Public Relations Institute of Southern Africa. In his early career, Kenneth taught journalism and public relations at Evelyn Home College of Applied Art and Commerce in Lusaka. In 1990, he moved to Geneva, Switzerland, working as editor of the Ecumenical Press Services, as news agency of the World Council of Churches, compiling and distributing news to agencies, publications, and electronic media globally. Mobu has also played a critical role in voter education in the first democratic elections within South Africa in 1994, informing communities of their voting rights. In 1995, Mobu was appointed as International Relations Officer at the University of Fort Hare. During his tenure at Fort Hare, a number of important projects were achieved on the continent, one of those being the Southern Sudan Capacity and Institution Building Initiative, a project designed to train Southern Sudanese public officers in various council civil service skills. By the end of 2008, over 1,500 officers had undergone the training program. Ken had served in the following portfolios before his untimely death: Portfolio Committee of International Relations, Labor, and Public Works. Go well, thou faithful servant of the people of South Africa. God has you in his keeping, and we have you in our hearts. As we say thank you for your service, your hard work, please know that you have fought a good fight. You have lived your life. You have finished the race. You had faith. Finally, there is laid up for you the crown of righteousness. We will miss you. Good night, Kenneth. May your soul rest in peace. I thank you.
The Honorable Madlopa.
Honorable Speaker, Ministers and Deputy Ministers present, honorable members, distinguished guests in the gallery, to the family of the late Honorable Kenneth Mobu, on behalf of the African National Congress, please accept our sincerest condolences on the loss of the of your loved one. Our working with him in Parliament, and in particular in the Portfolio Committee on Public Works, leaves us with profound memories of his contribution, his dedication, and commitment to the vision both he and his party had with regards to the work of MPs and the Parliament. We share with you in your time of sorrow and grief, knowing that the time of the passing on is never predetermined, which makes being prepared for grief more difficult. We share with you he brought to Parliament the rich experience of his work in Africa and how he uses this experience for the development of the work of Parliament. We hold special memories of him, unique in his contribution, which was a reflection of his character, his vision, and his passion. His was a life of service for the betterment of others, and this is what we should take in remembering him. He strived at all times to qualitatively improve the challenges we face together in the Portfolio Committee. Honorable Mobu joined the Portfolio Committee on Public Works in the 5th Parliament. His engagement in the committee was measured and thoughtful, in application principled. His was not to oppose for the sake of opposing or to desire to be popular, but he engaged with the content of the work. He was quick to give credit where it was due, humble, and showed great respect to his colleagues. His interaction with the staff showed what a great and exemplary leader he was. He was solution-based. He would not ask questions to the department without proposing solutions to those questions. He was a visionary leader and carried his work with pride, right up to the time he took ill. He would never miss a meeting without submitting an apology. His humor, unique to himself, he shared in jokes with the chairperson of the portfolio, Honorable Martins, and Deputy Minister Cronin, in this way creating a harmonious working environment without tensions. This is something we should, as a lesson in his passing, that you don't have to be antagonistic in arguing your point or your party's point of view. From his informed questions, you would easily pick up that he read the presentation and did his own research on the content of the work under consideration since he was new in the portfolio. Our condolences go out to the family and to his party, Democratic Alliance. You have lost a man of measure, and we trust you have learned from him. We shall, as the African National Congress, hold fond memories of his life with us. It is with great sadness that we say goodbye, but we are comforted that his contribution has helped in the construction of our national democratic society. May his soul rest in peace. I thank you.
The Honorable Sonti.
Diabonga Somlong. Condolence. Motion for Kenneth Mobu. CEFF sidlulisa amazwi ovelwano kusapho lukaMhlonipheki uKenneth Mobu olilungu le-DA apha eParliament. Besingamazi kakhulu uMhlonipheki Mobu kwaye besingaboni ngasonye ngendlela abahlalutya ezombungazwe bengumbutho we-DA, kodwa ilifu elimnyama elehlele usapho lwakhe kunye nombutho wakhe i-DA isenza sibe novelwano olukhulu singumbutho we-Economic Freedom Fighters. Kodwa siye sothuka xa sifumana imbalelwano kumbhexeshi we-DA, i-Chief Whip ye-DA, isixelela ukuba singathabathi inxaxheba kule ntetho yovelwano yanamhlanje. I-Chief Whip ye-DA kunye namanye amalungu alendlu yoyisomthetho basicingela ngolunya CEFF xa siphikisana neziphakamiso ezenziwa apha. Balibala msinyane ngoba i-EFF ikwenza oku kuba amalungu eParlamente equka nawe DA avumela kupasiswe umthetho wokukhupha ngolunya amalungu e-EFF xa ithetha inyaniso zodwa. Siyazi ukuba abaphathi balendlu, presiding officers, bangathi bazimfumfuthela kuyo yonke into eyinyani eza ne-EFF. CEFF siyibona ingumnqa into yokuba i-DA inganqanda abantu okanye izikhethele ukuba ngobani amabagqwale emswaneni xa kukho isikhumbuzo sevelwano. Yinto engaqhelekanga ke kwantu le yenziwa i-DA. Asixolisi tu CEFF sohlala siphikisana neziphakamiso ezifundwa kule ndlu. Izolo oku umongameli we-EFF noyi-Commander-in-Chief Julius Malema ukhutshwe ngenkani apha zii-bouncers. I-DA ne-ANC bebekhona bethe phuhlwa amehlo bebefanele phofu ukuba bavotele
Honorable members.
wokuvumela ii-bouncers zixhaphaze amalungu e-EFF rhoqo xa eveza amanyundululu alorhulumente. Sinesiqinisekiso uMhlonipheki uMobu ebengasoze avumelane nombutho wakhe i-DA izikhethele abantu amabagqwale emswaneni xa kuthe kwakho osishiyileyo. Kwethuka kakhulu indlela i-DA Chief Whip eziphethe ngayo xa ichophela lo mcimbi. Siqhelekile singumbutho we-EFF ngokushiywa ngumhlonipheki uMobu sithi akuhlanga lungehlanga. Kusapho lwakhe, umfazi wakhe, umama uNombulelo, abantwana, uKenneth uJunior noThari sithi mabomelele bathembele kowasidalayo uThixo. Ndiyabonga Somlong.
Honorable members, I wish to take this opportunity to recognize the members of the family who are in the gallery, who have come to be with us on the occasion of this sad debate of condolences, but we also want to acknowledge the pupils of the Bloemhof Girls High School of Stellenbosch in the gallery, together with their teachers. And I call upon the Honorable Shengwa.
Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Leader of the Opposition and the DA caucus, honorable members and the Mobu family. I was involved with the Inkatha Freedom Party to pay tribute to a colleague and friend who, in my view, has left us too soon, especially when we all expected him to continue doing so much more in this house and well beyond its walls. On hearing the news of Ken's untimely death, my mind raced to a hymnal chorus which says, "There is a race I must run, there are victories to be won. Lord, give me power every hour to be true." Ken has run his race, and Ken has won many victories. Importantly, Ken has remained true to his family, his political home, the DA, and to South Africa. Ken has remained true to his beliefs, convictions, and principles, and that is a measure of a great man who has gone too soon, and indeed he has run his race. I pay a special tribute to Ken's wife, Nombulelo, whom I've had the pleasure of meeting on several occasions, and his children, and I thank them personally for having been by Ken's side in his last days. Ken would at times refer to me as son-in-law, as I often teased him that I would send Abakongi to negotiate lobola to take his daughter's hand in marriage. And in true style, he would laugh and dismiss my tears as nonsense. On oversight visits, the highlights were always Ken singing, of course not the best singing, but nonetheless very entertaining. And the worthy lesson to learn from Ken is that we can disagree without being rude or condescending, and that criticism need not be rooted in gutter politics. Ken was a great man who may be gone today, but will never be forgotten. His life is a rich legacy of dedication, humor, and selflessness. Ken, in my view, was a rare kind of gentleman who treated everybody with equality and respect. I am sad to bid farewell to a gentleman and a colleague and a true friend, and may we all find comfort in 2 Corinthians 4, verses 8 and 9, which reads, "We are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed." On behalf of the IFP, I convey the most heartfelt condolences to the Mube family, the DA, and may God be your strength and comfort during this time, and find comfort knowing that you are not alone in your mourning. We are with you and we are praying with you. Hamba kahle, Ken, and rest in God's peace, my friend. I thank you.
The Honorable Sheikh Imam.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, honorable members in the House, family members of the Mobu family, and other guests. Honorable Kenneth Mobu, born in Lusaka, Zambia, was a man of many facets. He was first and foremost a family man, a loving father and husband who loved spending time with his family, shouldering his fair share of cooking and shopping in his house and the house. As a son of Africa, he had a passion for wildlife and eagerly immersed himself in the serenity of nature whenever he could take time out of his busy schedule. Above all, Honorable Mobu was passionate about everything he did in life, giving his all to succeed in whatever task he has set his mind to do. Honorable Mobu was a scholar of note who had held several degrees, postgraduate qualifications, diplomas, and certificates, which all been testimony to his fine intellect. He started his earlier career as a lecturer in journalism and public relations at the Evelyn Home College in Lusaka before being appointed as a public relations officer for the Mindolo Ecumenical Foundation in Kitwe, Zambia. Honorable Mobu would spend several years in ecumenical service in Botswana and Switzerland, working first for the Botswana Christian Council and later the World Council of Churches. After his successful tenure at the World Council of Churches, Honorable Mobu joined the Diaconia Council of Churches in Durban, where he worked as a media and publications coordinator. In 1994, he played a critical role in vote education for South Africa's first democratic election, informing communities of their voting rights. Honorable Mubu changed his career direction in 1995 when he was appointed as International Relations Officer at the University of Fort Hare. In 1999, Honorable Mubu was appointed Manager for International Collaboration at Technikon, South Africa in Johannesburg, and was later promoted to Head of Collaboration before elections of Deputy Director for Africa in 2006. As a member of the Democratic Alliance Parliamentary Caucus, Honorable Mubu served as a Shadow Minister of Public Works and previously Shadow Minister of International Relations and Cooperation. He made his presence felt in the National Assembly with dignity, which set an example for many to follow. Sadly, Honorable Mubu passed away on the 31st of August 2015, leaving behind his wife, Nombulelelo, and children Kenneth Jr. and Tari. Today, we honor Honorable Mubu's contribution to building South Africa's constitutional democracy through the various roles he held in this lifetime. And on behalf of the National Freedom Party, we extend our deepest condolences to his wife, Nombulelelo, and children Kenneth Jr., Tari, and members of his family. To the Democratic Alliance, we extend our deepest condolences to you on the loss of such a committed, dedicated...
One of the greatest soul, a quiet visionary man and an esteemed servant of the country. The United Democratic Movement expresses its shock by his passing on. We would like to pass our deepest condolences to his family, the DA, his friends and colleagues. Kenneth Mubu was one of the extraordinary representatives of the people that had passion, constructive and level-headed mind. He was a diligent and focused person to a level whereby his articulations in the House were not based on personalities and political allegiance, but on practical socio-economic conditions, confronting in particular the poor people of South Africa. His debate on the budget vote of the Department of Public Works on the 6th of May 2015, where amongst others he persuasively encouraged the minister to ensure with speed that an environment that enables other departments to deliver service to the ordinary citizens without hindrance is created. This was indeed eloquent. He may die, but his contributions as a member of the National Assembly will never be forgotten. To his family, we want to say to you that you are not alone in this deep, sad moment. No one can take over the pain you feel. May the peace of the Almighty gracious God be with you. This will also pass. The United Democratic Movement cries with you, and we know that the people of this country are also crying too. May his soul rest in peace. I thank you.
The Honorable Dudley.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The ACDP was deeply saddened to hear of the untimely death of the Honourable Kenneth Mubu, who died at the end of August, and we would like to express our regret that the attempt by his party to have Parliament extend condolences and recognise his achievements was blocked by some members in the National Assembly. While Kenneth Mubu was a serving member on the International Relations and Cooperation Portfolio Committee in Parliament, I had the opportunity of working with him in committee meetings and on oversight visits. I got to know him as a likeable person with a serious approach to his work which demanded respect. I also knew him to be a Christian, and at a time like this, there is some consolation in knowing he had a relationship with Jesus Christ and will have gone to be with his Maker. So often it is at times like these that we actually get to know a little more about who we've worked with on a day-to-day basis. We get to hear who they have been before their busy time in Parliament, and it is an honour and a privilege, but a little sad too. On behalf of the ACDP, I convey our sincere condolences to the family of Mr. Mubu, especially his wife and children, to his friends and colleagues, and to the Democratic Alliance. I'm sure he will be sorely missed. Thank you.
The Honorable Jafta.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. To the family of Honorable Mubu, the Democratic Alliance, his friends and relatives, the AIC is deeply saddened by the loss of your loved one, your comrade, your friend, and our colleague, Honorable Mubu. As he departed from this earth, he has not truly left, for he is still alive in our hearts and minds. Through us, Honorable Mubu lives on. Prayers and fond memories are what we have to remember our dearly departed. It was an honor to have known a great person like Honorable Mubu. I knew him from the Portfolio Committee of Public Works. He was indeed a member the DA could trust. Today, the AIC believes should be both a sad and a happy day. Sad because of the loss that has occurred, and happy because Honorable Mubu has reached his final destination in life and is now united with the Lord and Savior. Losing someone you love is nothing easy, but knowing that you have been able to be part of his life must make you realize that you were blessed to have been able to share in his life before he went to rest in eternal salvation. After the tears have dried and goodbyes have been said, all you have to hold on to are the happy memories that you have shared with Honorable Mubu, and allow him to rest in peace. I thank you.
The Honorable Godi.
Za khensa speaker xa yindlu. Va hisekeri va ntshunxeko na vachaviseki hinkwavo hi ku yimela nhlangano wa African People's Convention. Hi rhandza ku hundzisa marito yo chavelela eka vatirhikulobye, vanghana na vandyangu wa mutirhikulori loyi a hi siyeke muchaviseki Kenneth Mubu, loyi a veke xirho xa yindlu leyi xa matikhomelo lamanene no va na ku tinyiketela eka ntirho wa yena. Ku hundza emisaveni ka mutirhikulobye un'wana ni un'wana swa hi khumba hinkwerhu, swi nga khataleki ku hambana hi mihlangano, mafambiselo ya tiko kumbe political outlook, ni vonelo ra swa misava kumbe ideology. Rifu i makumu ya un'wana ni un'wana. Lava khumbekaka va ngati hi ri nhlangano wa APC hi ri a va amukeli i ndlela ya hinkwerhu. May his soul rest in peace. Thank you.
The Honorable Mokhalapa.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I would like to thank all parties who participated and gave condolence speeches. Indeed, we as the DA family are feeling a sense of deep loss. This gallant son of the soil and a brave soldier has fallen. We have lost a mentor, a brother, a colleague, and a friend, the one we could always rely on for advice. He was intelligent and caring with a sense of humor. He was passionate and knowledgeable about African politics and global issues and politics. There are many memories and stories I can share about my time with Honorable Mubu, who I affectionately nicknamed Bubu. Allow me to share with you just two special ones. We together cut our political teeth in Parliament in 2009. I vividly remember our first political engagement where we had to prepare our first budget vote speeches for our department budget vote of international relations debate. We spent the entire evening exchanging notes and being nervous, not knowing what to expect the next morning. But what we had was our sense of solidarity and our camaraderie, which carried us through the day. The other memory I could share is our first attendance of the Heads of Missions Conference, That includes over 150 diplomats and ambassadors from all of South Africa's 126 embassies and missions abroad. We were so nervous because we only knew that it will be only the two of us from the DA. But we soldiered on, and it was a successful evening. To the Mubu family, I would like, on behalf of the Democratic Alliance family, send our deepest condolences and our collective grave loss. We will miss him, but his spirit and memories are well as our collective sense of common purpose and cause will remain with us forever and ever until we meet again in heaven. May the Lord God guide, soothe, and strengthen you at this difficult time. Trust in the Lord, for he is our Savior. Robala ka kgotso, senatla sa dinatla. I thank you.
That concludes the speakers list on this matter. I take it that there are no objections to the motion being adopted. Will members please rise to observe a moment of silence in memory of Honorable Mobu. Thank you. The presiding officers associate themselves with the motion, and indeed the transcript will be conveyed to the family so that they would have a record of the expressions of this afternoon. The last motion on the order paper is in the name of the Chief Whip of the Majority Party. The Honorable the Chief Whip.
Honorable Speaker, I move that the House, notwithstanding Rule 29, which provides for the sequence of proceedings, resolves that there will be no notices of motion and motions as referred to in Rule 9(7) sub G, and on the 21st of October 2015, I so move.
I now put the motion. Are there any objections? No objections, agreed to. Honorable members, the next item on the order paper is the statement by the Minister of Police on the killing of police officers. The Honorable the Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, honorable members, ladies and gentlemen. A conference of the leading European powers meeting in Berlin in 1884 to 1885 divided the African continent and shared the pieces, colonies, and dependencies amongst themselves. Thus, the 20th century history is a history of the struggle of the Africans for the achievement of their freedom, their human rights, and their dignity as human beings. That just struggle produced for our country the noble vision of a one united, non-racial, non-sexist South Africa. Generation after generation, the people of our land have striven to reconfigure the political institutions of our country to create a better society, a better country in a better world. To ensure that the vision of the birth of a just society is permanently rooted on the national agenda, our Constitution of the Republic is anchored on the Bill of Fundamental Human Rights, guaranteeing to all the right to life, human dignity, and freedoms. As the descendants of the heroines and heroes who gave birth to a just South Africa that belongs to all who live in it, on your shoulders, and indeed those of the entire current generation, rests the responsibility to strive to realize and practice our people's rights and freedoms. The murderers who kill members of our police service, as well as members of society, do not respect the will of the millions of our people who, through their Bill of Rights, uphold that every human being has a right to life. We need a revolution, aimed at securing the right to life, not only in law, but also as part of our lived reality and experience. Honorable members, the continued killing of members of the police service is an attempt to undermine the legitimate authority of the state. This calendar year alone, 60 members of the service have been killed, and of those, 27 were killed whilst on duty. This is the extent of the ultimate pain criminals impose on families, taking away mothers and fathers, taking away breadwinners and loved ones, creating orphans, and where there was hope, creating despair. The permanent scars and pain etched on family members, relatives, and friends cannot be undone even as we work to lessen the impact through the various support programs. Thus, current trends impose a responsibility on us to urgently come up with better strategies to stop the further killing of members of the police service. If we accept that each breadwinner takes care of 10 people on average, that means that based on last year financial year's figures, 770 people will face difficulty. The Constitution injuncts the police service to, I quote, prevent, combat, and investigate crime, to maintain public order, to protect and secure inhabitants of the Republic and their property, and to uphold and enforce the law, close quote. It is in carrying out this serious responsibility that at times, members of the police service have to pay the ultimate price. Even though we make the distinction between those members who lose their lives whilst on duty and those who would not have been, because of the nature of the work of members of the police, the technical distinction holds limited significance. Nevertheless, we shall make the point that most of the members of the police are killed while on duty. More than 2/3, in other words, 71% of the killings that took place during the last financial year happened when police were responding to calls by the public. The summary is as follows. 45.7% were killed whilst attending to complaints, such as robbery, hijacking, and cash in transit. 11.4% were killed while trying to effect an arrest. 5.7% killed while conducting searches of persons and motor vehicles. 5.7% were killed while pursuing suspects. And another 5.7% were killed while attending to domestic violence complaints. And 2.9% were escorting suspects to police cells. And 2.9% were also victims of attacks on police stations. And a 14.2% is the number of what is commonly referred to as random killings. The killing of one member of the police service is one too many. It deprives society of its capacity to protect and defend itself. And as the President has directed, we shall investigate all possible ways of defeating this evil scourge. We shall engage society to share with us its wisdom as we look for ways and means to bring an end to police killings. One member serves just around 360 people. The 60 members killed so far this year would have been responsible for the safety of approximately 21,480 people. The time gap between training and qualification means that the service a member provides is not immediately replaceable, even if another were to be employed. The President has directed that a plan be developed and implemented immediately to stem the killings. We have taken heed of this instruction and have put in place measures under the auspices of the police safety strategy. And this plan, the National Tactical Response Plan, is to be immediately implemented. In this regard, the police will conduct on-site investigations assessing the circumstances under which members have been killed, Station and relief commanders will ensure that directives and standing orders regarding safety are rigorously implemented. Inspections will take place to ensure that members have the right to safety gear, and they will be briefed on all possible dangerous suspects and potential situations when reporting for duty. Furthermore, there will be assessments of the environment to identify root causes as well as potential threats and trends in order to enhance preventative measures. Security vulnerabilities of police station premises will be looked into with a view to strengthening safety. These assessments will further assist the police to determine the modus operandi of perpetrators, threats to members, and trends of criminal activity. We've embarked on the profiling of suspects and the identification of high-risk areas such as gang-infested areas, description of dangerous suspects and suspicious vehicles. We will enhance awareness among members to strengthen operational and psychological readiness on a regular basis. We shall ensure that at all times there are adequate serviceable resources and equipment to support members of the police during deployments. We are mindful of the urgent need to identify early warning signs of potential threats, stress, substance abuse, anger, and relationship deficiencies. We shall make optimal use of the employee health and wellness programs to strengthen psychological and emotional fitness of members on and off duty. In the end, most of these measures will gravitate towards an overall plan to transform the police service, which means that the training provided will be assessed, and where needed, new methods will have to be introduced. On Sunday, the 6th September 2015, His Excellency President Jacob Zuma joined hands with the families, relatives, and millions in our country in paying tribute to the fallen gallant fighters for safety and security. This event allows the nation to demonstrate and express its deep sense of gratitude to the fallen members, their families, relatives, and friends. Honorable members, together we have traveled a long road to be where we are as a country today. However, ahead of us still lies a daunting task which demands that we continue to act together to advance towards the full realization of peace, justice, and shared prosperity for the people of the country foreseen by our forebearers. Our country has emerged from a long history of colonialism, political oppression, and economic exploitation. We went through a long and difficult struggle. We were forced into a protracted war that would not only result in the defeat of white minority rule, but also in the eradication of a legacy that had, to all intents and purposes, defined Africa and Africans as outcasts of the human race. The democratic breakthrough of 1994 was a product of many heroic battles, and to realize the noble aspirations of our Constitution requires us to be prepared to fight many more. We must step by step continue to give material content to our freedom. We have indeed used the 1994 victory to transform our country into a democratic state that has taken its rightful place among the family of nations. The process towards the restoration of the dignity of all of our people continues to unfold in earnest. We believe that we must build on these and many other developments by working together to promote our national interests and avoid acting in any manner that would undermine our common future and the common objective of building a better life for all of our people. Our fundamental and guiding principle must be the objective to move forward decisively to eradicate the legacy of racism, sexism, colonialism, and apartheid. This is the central aim that must inform the detailed work performed daily by all sectors of our society for the social transformation of our democratic state. We shall continue to set ourselves bold but realistic targets to enable us to gauge the progress that we're making. This will have to encompass all aspects of our work, ensuring that we move forward in a balanced and integrated manner. Much as we have traveled a long road to be where we are today, ahead of us still lies a daunting task, which demands that we continue to act together to advance towards the full realization of peace, justice, and shared prosperity. The creation of a safe and secure South Africa is a central aspect of the national effort to ensure justice, lasting peace, and development for our country and its people and future generations. Crime is an impediment to the entire national effort of creating a better life for all the people of our land. The police have a duty to ensure safety for all so that society may focus on its creative development endeavors. Accordingly, our society, together with its governance institutions, must unite in action and engage in a concerted and sustained effort aimed at defeating the scourge of police killings and generally murder in our society. Our collective effort to transform ourselves from a pariah state to a progressive and democratic country is an experience whose value should be kept alive through emulation. We need to unite in action to isolate those who kill and maim in the pursuit of blood-soaked material possessions. The issue of the violent nature of crime in our society needs to be revisited. We have to ensure that there is serious and vibrant discussion with the aim of identifying the root causes and eliminating them. Platforms of social discourse have to place this matter on their agenda. Society must highlight the painful emotional, economic, and psychological scars imposed by murderers on families and communities. We must pay tribute to the fallen members of our police service. It is indeed with a deep sense of sorrow and pain, and yet with pride that we bid and bestow upon them their final farewell and honor. The heroic example set by these daughters and sons of our soil shall forever serve as an inspiration within the ranks of our fearless fighters against crime, communicating the message that in defense of our people and their country, we shall give our all. Government, and indeed the entirety of our country, is saddened about these untimely losses and shares the pain of the families, whilst our departed members shall indeed be sorely missed. Their contribution and commitment will forever remain a symbol of dedication and patriotism. In honor of our fallen heroes and heroines and heroes, let us engage in a revolution to secure in practice the right to life. Wabulala ipoisa, ubulala isizwe. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister Nhleko. Just to indicate that I'm sure some of you might be wondering, when has the Minister of Finance become the Minister of Police? On your screens, you have got the face of Honorable Nene. That is a mistake of IT. I want to apologize on their behalf. Thank you very much, Honorable Kola.
The Minister of Police tried time and again over the past 2 days to have this debate cancelled, the debate to honour South Africa's murdered police officers, and thankfully he, like most ANC ministers, failed in his efforts. Now, I didn't know any of these 61 police officers. I didn't know their families or their children or their mothers or their fathers, but I do know the families of people who have been murdered all over the country, and I know the devastation and the horror that this wreaks. Think of those people who kissed them goodbye every morning and prayed that they would come home safe, but worried endlessly that they wouldn't. Think, too, of their colleagues who returned to an office with an empty desk, of the loss of a friend who may have saved their lives on duty, with whom they shared their successes and their fears. Think, too, of their community, with members quietly pleased that a police officer lived nearby, as though that would somehow steer the criminals that run like cockroaches through every street of our land away from their homes. I do know that the officers we commemorate today who were on duty were doing it for all of us to protect and defend us. These were people with brave hearts and such a generosity of spirit that they would have given their lives for you or for me. I do know that the majority of them were off duty, but we all know that being a police officer was not just a job for them, it's what they were. Police wear their uniform on the inside as well as on the outside, and they belong to the family in blue. It's a tough job, and today our officers are paying with their lives. Of course, crime affects all of us. It takes away the people we love the most. It leaves us scared and angry. It brings out the worst in our society. It does this in communities around the country, and it equally affects those brave police officers who work tirelessly in the most difficult of circumstances to fight it. What our citizens don't understand is that the overwhelming majority of our police are fine, upstanding, honest, fair men and women. And why is that? Why is that today it's so difficult for South Africans to join with us here in the National Assembly and with their families to feel the empathy we're renowned for? Perhaps it's because a third of our civilians are scared of the police. They run away from them, not to them when there's trouble. If they are stopped at a roadblock, they expect to be robbed. If they are pulled aside, they expect to be manhandled, arrested on non-existent charges, thrown in a van, taken on a terrifying joyride, thrown in a filthy cell and released without charge the next day. They expect to be raped. Today, nearly half of South Africans feel there's no point in reporting crime because they don't trust our police. It is truly a broken blue line. It's been broken by cadre deployment. Think of Richard Mluli. That era in crime intelligence has left our nation's apparatus broken and ineffective, sending our officers out to risk their lives.
Order, honorable members, can you please converse a bit lower?
Without proper intelligence they need to protect themselves and ordinary citizens alike. These days, when the Department of Police annually releases its heavily massaged, outdated crime statistics, they carry no moral authority whatsoever. They're only of use to analysts, not to civilians who need to protect themselves. Indeed, after years of bungled figures, such as the distrust of these statistics, that respected analysts look elsewhere for results. The process will be repeated in about 2 weeks, when once again the horrors of crime in our country will be spread across the front pages as cities and towns vie for the dubious titles of murder capital, rape capital, and fraudsters capital of South Africa. As dodgy as these figures have become, the public perception of police is coloured nonetheless by them and by the actions of the various revolving door police ministers and national police commissioners, the latest one of whom has inevitably gone down the road followed by the previous two. The disgust we all felt when we saw her laughing as the families of these murdered officers wept on Police Day at the commemoration on Sunday was as strong as that we felt when she laughed while the film footage of the Marikana massacre was shown at the Farnham Commission. These are just some of the reasons that tilt the attitude and perception scales in terms of trust in our police, and add to that daily reports of police criminality. Really, we have an almost unbreachable disconnect. South Africans are by nature a caring nation. We feel deeply, and yet the militarization of our police, where they use apartheid-era Defence Force titles as though citizenry are the enemy to be hunted down and killed, daily headlines of police members who rob, rape, and torture has them asking themselves how and why they can and should cry for yet another dead police officer. Or being a police officer in South Africa is one of the most dangerous jobs in the world. In Canada, 3 police officers are killed each year. A police officer here is 5 times more likely to be killed on duty than their counterpart in the United States. In South Africa, the count stayed over 200 year after year. Thankfully, it's dropped and is now on the increase again, as yesterday 2 more were murdered and 1 man killed his wife and then committed suicide. 61 of our officers have been killed so far this year with 4 months yet to go. We have to ask ourselves why. Our murder rate dropped after 2003 from 48 per day right down to 42 in 2012. Today, however, it's risen up to 47 again. So basically, we're back to where we started at the launch of our democracy. What is difficult to understand is that our officers are more likely to be killed while off duty than while on duty. That was true in 2003 and is true today. Now, has the minister instructed the Civilian Secretariat to drop everything, to do the research and determine why this is? Has he ploughed the necessary funds from his 73 billion rand budget to fix a broken crime intelligence unit? Does the SAPS know what to do about lethal crime? With a 73 billion rand budget, the SAPS should be ashamed to admit that no, it hasn't got an answer. They must admit they are clueless. Are these officers targeted because they're police out of uniform or because they try to tackle crime while off duty? Are they mainly inexperienced? Are they barely trained constables? Are they targeted for their firearms? Why are our experienced officers being executed? Is it tied in with gang rituals? Calls are being made, the most recent by the president, for officers to fight back. And I assure you, there is no one in this chamber who should believe that a police officer will stand with his or her arms at their side and wait to be shot and killed. That is deeply insulting. Every effort must be made to bring these deaths down. The sad reality is that 40,000 of our operational members have failed or do not have competency certificates. When it hit 20,000, a leaked report from horrified SAPS members, then it hit 30,000. It was all fudged by management. It is a major failure. How many of these murdered officers had recent firearm training? How many had refresher courses in safety tactics? How many of these deaths must we lay at the feet of an inefficient Department of Police? Most police officers globally require operational members to re-qualify in firearm competency twice a year. Here it is becoming the norm for armed officers simply not to have a competency certificate, which means they are breaking the law. How many are proficient in hand-to-hand combat, utilization of non-lethal means? Why don't they carry batons? That is the international norm. Does not this lead them to escalate from a verbal warning to shooting with no pause in between? Why do they work 12-hour shifts but supposed to be 100% vigilant? Not possible. The Democratic Alliance proposes our members are trained for every eventuality in terms of international best practice. To do that would be the best tribute we can pay to these brave men and women who have lost their lives in the line of duty and while off duty. Every possible resource must be utilized to stop these killings because police lives matter.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. Ilunga ihloniphekile ubaba uMhlongo Nzomani. Order, Honourable Member. Order, Honourable Members. Masingabheki kuhloba kwemuntu uhlobile namhlanje babeNzomani ngiyabona nonke nichazekile muhle Nzomani kuwe baba.
Thank you. For evil to thrive, men and women of nobility must sit back and do nothing. And our position as EFF
Order, Chair.
is to the opposite.
Order.
Honourable Member, what's your point of order?
Chair, is it parliamentary for the honourable member there to wear such kind of things on
Order,
his head?
Honourable Member, that's not a point of order. Can you take your seat?
For
Can
evil
proceed.
to thrive, men and women of nobility must sit back and do nothing. And our position in EFF is the opposite. The first public address by Mr. Zuma of the ANC in the ANC rally at Jablani Amphitheatre after the fateful political tragic conference of the ANC in Polokwane saw a strange call by Zuma on remilitarization of police. Indeed, military ranks were reintroduced and police re-employed brutal tactics in crime combating, of which record speaks for itself, where senseless gruesome acts have been committed since then. In 2011 alone, the former Minister of Police, Nathi Mthethwa, who was part of politicians who conspired to commit murder against our workers in Marikana, reported that after 3 years of Mr. Zuma in office,
Point of order, Chair.
more than
Order, Honourable Member, can you take your seat? Honourable Hadebe.
The Speaker has just said the member of this House has conspired to murder people in Marikana. Honorable Nathi Mthethwa is unparliamentary. And also, yeah, that's it. I think we must withdraw that.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Member Nzomani, did you make the statement as referred to?
Indeed, it is like that.
Honourable Member Nzomani, you know that when you want to bring a substantive motion with regards to the allegations on the member, you do so through a motion. And at the moment you haven't done so, I will ask you to withdraw.
Can I be allowed to proceed, Madam Speaker?
Order, honorable member, you can proceed after you have withdrawn.
How do I withdraw when a person was a minister?
Order, honorable member, if you want to bring a substantive motion on that matter, you will have to do so in a motion. But for now, making it glibly in your statement is unparliamentary, and I'm asking you to withdraw.
Well, sengizwile-ke.
Cha.
Angidluleke.
Sikuzwile nathi njomane kodwa ke kufuneka uhoxise lokho okushilo.
Okay, hayi ngizwile-ke.
Cha.
Hlala.
Njomane, asizwane njomane, hoxisa nje ubusu uyaqhubeka.
Hayi-ke,
Ithi ngiyahoxisa.
Angithi-ke angihoxise-ke kodwa bazwile.
Cha, hoxisa. Njomane,
Oh, hayi-ke ngiyahoxisa-ke.
qhubeka ke.
It is not surprising that the police killing has increased drastically. After all, it was the former commissioner of police, Peggy Cele, who lacked skills, talent, vision, and leadership qualities required to comprehend the responsibilities of policing, who went around playing cowboy tactics, calling police to shoot to kill. Instead, our men and women in blue became victims of the people through this such irresponsible call. When crime increases, mostly in our townships and in rural areas, instead of strategic policing, because Mr. Zuma does not know what he is doing, he did the most irresponsible thing a leader could ever do. While we are calling for a gun-free South Africa, he gave more guns and more bullets to our men and women in blue as if they were being deployed to combat battle. We have long entered a new phase in South Africa. When Mr. Zuma started solving every problem with guns and bullets, leaving our men and women in blue who did not sign up for war, who now find themselves in war, something that could have been easily prevented. When people in Rilela community protested for water, instead of political leaders taking front initiative, police were used to massacre those workers. When people in Motutlung community went on service delivery protest, it was police who were used by politicians failing to deliver sanitation and water to kill our people. When Andrew Statane led a service delivery protest in Fixbeck, it was the police who were used by politicians failing to deliver houses to our people, and Andrew Statane died tragically there.
Order, Chair.
It is.
Order, honorable member, what's your point of order?
Can the honourable member prepare to take a question?
He is not prepared. Take a seat.
It is the politicians who have turned the community against police. And it is the politicians who have left police without a choice but to think they must shoot to kill in order to police the society. When the police dragged the late Mozambican Mido Marcia behind
Honorable
a moving
member,
van
your time is up.
and killed him.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I
Order,
thought
what's
that,
your point of order?
We have been
I
disrupted.
rise on a point of order precisely because you have tolerated the disruption to a member who's on platform for frivolous point of orders which are unnecessary. And you did not hold your time for a member not to be deprived of his right to speak. So
Order.
can you please allow our member the right to speak?
Order, honorable member. Order, honorable members. Order, honorable members. Honorable member, when there are interjections or points of orders, the time is stopped. And when that has finished, we then proceed with the time. So the member has had all his 3 minutes, 11 seconds in addition. Thank you very much. Honorable Njomani.
On a point of order, Chair.
Order, honorable member, yes.
Yeah, you're saying the member is 3 minutes, but it has 4 minutes.
For 4 minutes.
Can you speak for 4 minutes?
Order, honorable member. The member has had all his minutes. Yebo baba uNjomani, nabheke eceleni kuwe ukuthi isikhathi sithini. Ngiyabonga
No,
Njomani.
thank you very much.
Ngibongile Njomani. Ilunga elihloniphekile umncwango. Order, honorable members.
Honorable Chairperson, just yesterday, we heard of the killing of another 2 police officers in Dobsonville, Soweto, when they came under fire by a gang of heavily armed men, some of whom were armed with R5 automatic weapons. Never in the history of this country have our policemen and women been so under threat just by virtue of the fact of their wearing of the blue uniform of community safety, security, and policing. Lawlessness, the tsunami of which seems to be rising daily, is not receiving any kind of adequate response from the government. Firm and decisive steps must be taken to root out and place behind bars for a long time these criminal elements who are seeking to destroy the very fabric of our society. Our citizens are not safe. Crime is rampant and on the increase, and this is affecting us all. On Tuesday, an IFP parliamentary staff member was assaulted at gunpoint in Nyanga in an attempted robbery of her cellular telephone. Criminals walk the streets openly with unregistered firearms in broad daylight. Communities live in fear too. They live in fear, too scared to speak out. This has only emboldened the criminals who now have our SAPS officers in their sights. So far this year, we have lost 60 police officers. May their souls rest in peace. And if we do not respond to this appropriately and decisively, we will see more police officers being targeted. We will see more police murders. We will see a heavily fueled anarchic firestorm brew, the likes of which we have not yet seen in South Africa. This is undoubtedly an attack on the very heart of the South African state and democracy. This must not be allowed to gain traction. The Inkatha Freedom Party resolutely calls, as we have in the past, for the establishment in each province of special crimes against police courts, the National Prosecuting Authority's immediate prioritization of police killings, statute-enabled severe criminal sanction for those found guilty of crime against police officers, as well, an all-out campaign to rid this country of illegal firearms, gangs, and gangsterism. There must be a zero tolerance policy in this regard. I thank you, Madam.
Thank you, honorable member. Honorable Sheikh Imam.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, Honorable Ministers present and Honorable members of the House and members of the gallery. The South African police is the thin blue line which stands between our treasured democracy and anarchy, our last line of defense against criminal lawlessness. It is a line that is stretched to almost breaking point right now with a relentless onslaught against our uniformed men and women who put their lives at risk daily to protect us and enforce the law. To date, more than 60 police officers have been killed in South Africa this year, with 3 out of every 5 killed off duty. Our state president recently urged police to defend themselves within the confines of the law, which is correct, yet the NFP believes that we need to take a hard look at these laws which set the parameters within which our police officers must operate. The Criminal Procedure Act and Section 48 in particular, or 49, sorry, deserves close scrutiny for the limitation it places on the right and ability of police officers to defend themselves against ruthless criminals. This limitation is extremely onerous. Whilst on paper the circumstances where police are allowed to use deadly force may seem reasonable, the truth is that decisions have to be made in split seconds and there is no space or latitude for second guessing. Whilst it is easy for the courts to wrestle with the laws laid down in the Constitutional Court case of S versus Walters, when pronouncing on whether a police officer was entitled to use deadly force or not, the officer on the ground does not have the luxury of time to ponder such challenges and must make a judgment call right there and then. Yes, Honorable Chairperson, the right to life is precious and protected by our Constitution, but it cannot be so at the expense of law and order and at the expense of our police officers. We believe that aiming a gun at a police officer is a de facto display of an intention to kill. And we believe that police must be enabled through legislation to respond with the maximum force that the law allows, without the inevitable sword of prosecution and murder investigation by the Independent Police Investigative Directorate hanging over their heads. We agree with suggestions that police must not operate alone but in pairs of groups. And we agree that all our police officers should be equipped with bulletproof vests. Yet, when we look at those police officers who are killed, it is noticeable that most died because of shots to the head and the neck. The criminals are aware that police use bulletproof vests and have adjusted the killing methods accordingly. We also need to look at other issues such as the low morale amongst police officers, poor salaries, difficult working conditions, challenges of promotions, to understand the complexity of killing of our police officers. Very often these factors contribute to police members being drawn into a web of corruption and collusion with criminal elements which puts the lives of their colleagues at risk. To conclude, with the National Freedom Party is in favor of legislative amendments to make it easier for police to defend themselves and encourage all South Africans to support our police members and appreciate the thin blue line which serves and protects us daily.
Your time
I
is
thank
up.
you.
Honorable Macheka.
Thank you, Chairperson, honorable members. The onslaught against police officers calls for a number of interventions. Amongst others is the need to insist that anyone becoming a National Police Commissioner must have a certain amount of police operational experience. There are many of those who can be found from within the service. This should be linked with the need to have the National Police Commissioner chosen by a special majority in Parliament in the same way it is done when appointing the Inspector General of Intelligence. Local policing forums should be more representatives of the people with added capacity in order for them to play a more practical role in assisting the work of the police in the safety of all citizens. The killing of police demands that the leaders of the police double their work in improving the overall management of the use of force by police officers. Threatening harsh sanctions against police murderers and encouraging police to using more force in their interaction with criminal suspects is unlikely to improve officers' safety. It will play into systematic police brutality, which will cause civilians to become fearful and less cooperative with the police. Police leadership urgently needs to start focusing on improving the strategic management and internal accountability capacity that will support professional policing. Police members need to be prepared, able to confront dangerous criminals, defend themselves and the citizens who are using lethal force. They need the necessary skills and confidence to handle the complexities they confront in the daily engagement with the public while enforcing the law against all criminals. There is also an urgent need to mobilize communities and improve the public trust in police, decrease police corruption and brutality. South Africa wants a police force that can be trusted because its leaders are beyond reproach and its members are widely recognized as professionals, respectful and accountable to the needs of the communities they serve. The United Democratic Movement says stop police killing now. A police officer is your brother, your sister, your uncle, your mother, and your father, and indeed a human being too. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Swart.
Chairperson, the ACDP shares the sense of shock and outrage felt about the high number of police officers killed this last year. We would like to express our condolences to all those families and friends who have lost their loved ones and colleagues in the line of duty, including the 2 detectives murdered in Dobsonville yesterday. The brazenness of the attacks on police officers leaves one shocked and, to a certain extent, disturbed. Clearly, far more needs to be done to protect our police officers. We welcome the National Tactical Response Plan that has been developed to immediately respond effectively to murders of police officials, but that is sadly often after the fact. We need to see attacks on the police as a tax not only on the state, but indirectly as a tax on us as citizens. Yesterday's shootout in Dobsonville, Soweto, in which 2 detectives were killed, adds to this long list. What makes yesterday's attack more alarming is that these 2 detectives were specifically targeted and almost hunted down, then callously shot with their police dockets and service pistols then being stolen in a very clearly and callously calculated operation. It is apparent that criminals are becoming more brazen in these attacks, and we cannot have a situation where our protection officers are unable to protect themselves, let alone the public at large. Police officers, including detectives, must wear their bulletproof vests at all times and to take steps to ensure their physical safety. We must also ensure that police officials are properly equipped and trained to withstand these vicious onslaughts. Effective counseling services must also be available to help these police officers dealing with traumatic and depression-inducing crime scenes, as well as seeing their colleagues wounded or targeted in the line of duty. Lastly, the ACDP would like to suggest that communities adopt local police stations to support those police officers with prayers for protection and to meet their other needs, or merely just to express thanks for good service delivered that they provide in the communities. Let us stand with the Blue Line. Let us encourage them, for they are the front line when it comes to fighting crime. Let us remember them in our thoughts, prayers, and action. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Godi.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, comrades, and honorable members. The APC joins the House in supporting the statement of the Minister and the sentiments expressed in the House thus far in condemning the killing of police officers. We stress here that the killing of the police is unacceptable. We all must raise our voices against the killing of police officers. The APC agrees with the Minister that the right to life must not just be a constitutional provision, but must be central in the popular psychology of the people in this country. For so long as the right to life, respect for life, is merely a legal matter, the declassed elements in our society will respect nobody's life, including that of police officers. The killing of police officers is particularly worrisome, for they are the ones responsible for maintaining law and order. If this is not urgently arrested, it will negatively affect the capacity of the state to safeguard life and property of all citizens. Police officers, the ministry, and the department must feel that as Parliament we care about their well-being, condemn police killings, and support all their efforts to identify and eliminate all risks to the lives of our officers. Our communities need to be mobilized in support of the police, strengthen community policing forums, and, Comrade Minister, take good care of our reservists. This will create the necessary environment for safer communities. We pledge our solidarity with the families of the deceased officers. I thank you.
Honorable Make.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson, ministers, and my colleagues. Madam Chairperson, every society and community needs to be protected. And it is the duty of every government to do so. Governments are there to see to the safety and comfort of its citizens, and the instruments that it uses is the defense and police forces. In a situation where the defenders of our people are being targeted by criminals, not only the government, but every one of us need to stand up and put a stop to this abomination. The President has called for a more active citizenry to enhance the quest to fight all types of crime that endanger and undermine human rights. He went further to say that in the South African context, active citizenry was yet to be fully exercised to advance the cause of drastic curbing crime. If we are to make even more meaningful inroads in the fight against crime as a people, we need to fully activate our sense of community and each play our role in supporting the law enforcement officers of South Africa, of the Southern African region, and even further afield. In any country, the heinous murder of law enforcement officers can never be supported, condoned, or overlooked, the President emphasized. In our own documents as the African National Congress, we are saying that there seems to be a growing tendency towards attacks directed at law enforcement officers. This is a phenomenon that would require the attention of security cluster with a view to ensuring that the law enforcement officers gain necessary respect from the population of South Africa whilst respectfully providing services to them. Madam Chairperson, if we have a situation in this country where Tsotsis will raid a police station in order to capture weapons, where Tsotsis will hold police up and take their weapons in daylight, it is clear that our strategies and tactics in dealing with this type of criminality must have a total overhaul. The Minister has come up with a blueprint to totally change the landscape in the sphere of policing. Our people need to be safe and feel free. In my previous speech on the budget vote, Madam Chairperson, I specifically dealt with this issue when I said that as a society we need to protect our protectors. I said that the killing of our police officers need to be treated differently. The punishment must be different. The prison must be different. The food in the prison must be different. No privileges must be allowed to these animals. We need to have special courts for this type of crime. Special prosecutors must be selected to deal specifically with cases of police murders. The Portfolio Committee on 2 occasions called the leadership of the police in order to engage with them on the issue, and we have noted the genuine efforts they are doing in order to end these acts of barbarity. SAPS is introducing new technology in trying to curb this scourge. Analog radio does provide talk group operations where all members are alerted simultaneously of emergencies. SAPS is migrating to modern digital radio communications with advanced police specifications. Digital radio-based panic alarm facility is being deployed, which includes GPS location delivery to the control room. However, the police must also do their part in being disciplined in their work, wearing their armored gear, stopping corrupt activities, etc. The security of the country is not something to argue and grandstand about. It talks about the lives of people, those that maintain the security, those that goes out whether dark or raining or both, those that go out whether it's winter or summer, whether windy or snowing. We must therefore be in agreement when it comes to the security of the country. No grandstanding with the safety, security, and protection of our citizens. We need a changing of mindset and become patriotic for the sake of the fatherland or motherland or fatherland. People who have families and assets like any of us. But surely those that police are people who have families and assets like any of us. But surely those that we forget about when we move around in safety and comfort. The safety and comfort created for us by these, our own boys and girls, men and women in blue, who always put their lives on the line for us, protecting our assets with them having none, secure our safety, security, and comfort with them having none of this, but never complaining. And we always take them just as some instruments or objects for our own protection. Theirs is just to do and die. Theirs is not to us the reason why. For our own good, all of us, even the opposition, whether in blue t-shirts or red overalls, they are always there, ready to
Madam
serve.
Chair. Order, honorable
Does the-
member. Can you take your seat, honorable member?
Can a member take a complimentary question?
Honorable Make, can you take a complimentary question as asked?
Not from anybody in a red overall.
Well, honorable member, he is not taking your question.
On a point of order, Chair.
Order, honorable
Does the opposition
Order,
not
Honorable
run to
Make.
them when they are...
Can you take your seat, honorable member?
Chair, I'd just like to check with you, is it parliamentary for that member to have 12 minutes for a speech like that and he's saying nothing?
Thank you, honorable member. That was not a point of order. Proceed, honorable Mike.
Does the opposition not run to them when they are in trouble? We therefore, as South Africans, must give permission to these, our men and women in blue, permission to exercise maximum force in relation to the Nugwaniji on behalf of the South African citizenry. Madam Chairperson, I wouldn't like to answer to some of the things that were said by the opposition because we are actually talking about death here. But I would like to agree with the IFP on the establishment of special courts. And I will definitely agree with the NFP that the police must use maximum force when it comes to this type of criminality. I thank you.
Thank you, honorable member. That concludes party responses to the statement. The next order is the member statements. Does any member of the ANC wish to make a statement? Yes, honorable member.
The ANC congratulates the 26-member Black Mamba Anti-Poaching Unit for being awarded the United Nations top accolade, the Champions of the Earth Award. This was announced on Monday, the 7th September 2015, and the award will be handed to the unit by the Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, in New York on the 27th September 2015. The Black Mambas are a shining example of the promise of government, the private sector, and communities to eradicating rhino poaching in South Africa. ANC and all South Africans salute these young women who all come from communities close to the Balule Game Reserve and the Kruger National Park, who have shown dedication and commitment to the conservation of our natural world. The unit not only focuses on conducting anti-poaching operations, but also educates communities in the area on the benefits of conservation and rhino protection. Much has been said of involving communities in conservation. ANC commends the Department of Environmental Affairs under Minister Edna Molewa on introducing the Environmental Monitors Program initiative. The department is working with various stakeholders, including other government departments and sun parks, to create economically viable models to make communities less
Honorable
vulnerable.
member, your time is up.
I thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
The Democratic Alliance.
Ngiyabonga, Sihlalo. The Democratic Alliance congratulates the Western Cape government for the successful outcomes achieved by its pioneering youth empowerment intervention called the Chrysalis Academy. Established in 2000 under a DA provincial government, the Academy is a highly effective social crime prevention and youth development program targeting youth at risk between the ages of 17 and 25. Created in response to the prevalence of substance abuse and an active gang culture in many communities in Cape Town, it empowers its beneficiaries to steer away from crime, drugs, and gangsterism to become socially responsible adults and strong, positive community leaders. The Academy has been recognized on a national level as one of the first recipients of the Gold Ministerial Award offered by the Ministry of Social Development for its excellence in youth development. In 2014-15, the Academy saw 600 students achieve an impressive 96% pass rate and 88% job placement rates. Through its success, the Chrysalis Academy shows the DA-led Western Cape government's commitment to be an innovative leader in addressing the contributing factors of crime as well as a trailblazer in youth development.
EFF.
Thank you, Chair. The Commander-in-Chief of Economic Freedom Fighters, President-in-Waiting, Julius Lomalema, instructed EFF MPs to be real servants of the people, to be part of the communities, appreciate the struggles of the people around them, and where possible, provide solutions for the people or work with them to find solutions on issues that communities are dealing with. Heading this call as MP of EFF, I have been working tirelessly with Malikudu High School, a school I did my secondary education, a school I have adopted in Limpopo, and together with the school leadership, we have embarked on a number of projects that will see the school becoming one of the best schools in the region. Together with the school management, we have forwarded an application for the construction of multi-purpose sports court facility at Malikutu High School premises. And from the update of the officials, the application is going through the processes, and we hope and pray for positive results. We also led project of painting the school last year. All blocks painted inside and outside. If the above-mentioned application can be approved, communities around Mamune will benefit a lot as they will have access to play at the court. In fact, the whole Makudu Tambaka sub-region shall be the beneficiaries of the facility. This is just one of the many community initiatives EFF is delivering to the people on the ground. Community of Skukune will benefit from work of EFF. Thank you.
The unveiling of Comrade January Masilela, Chair Masilela Tombstone. The ANC applauds the family of the Comrade January Chair Masilela and the SACP and the MKBA at Steve Chwete Municipality and the Tshwane Municipality for unveiling a tombstone in commemoration of our late hero and top civil servant, Comrade Chair. Chair Masilela left South Africa in 1975 to train as a soldier to fight the repugnant system of apartheid. After the unbanning of the ANC in 1990, he selflessly contributed to the rebuilding of the ANC structures and the reorganization of the new democratic state since 1994. Masilela was famously known as member and in his hometown of Middleburg, and also well known as chair within the Alliance movement. And he passed in 2008, and may his soul continue to rest in peace. As the ANC, we are also grateful that there is a road named after him in Tshwane, and the ANC provincial office in Mpumalanga is correctly named Chair Masilela House. I thank you.
The IFP.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. The Inkatha Freedom Party wishes to place on record its grave concern with the recent Statistics of South Africa report, which revealed that more than 99,000 teenagers fell pregnant in 2013. The data forms part of its general household research, which showed that teenage pregnancy has been on the increase over the past 3 years. The IFP believes that teenage pregnancy is a national disaster. These sentiments were echoed by the Department of Education in Gauteng when MEC Panyaza Lesufi labeled the latest figure a crisis and unheard of in the history of the country. The IFP believes that Minister of Education and her department must ensure pupils are taught the inherent responsibilities of having a baby whilst at school as part of their school curriculum to curb teenage pregnancy. However, other underlying factors must also be urgently addressed, such as teachers who impregnate their pupils, gender-based violence, and the fact that government seems to be endorsing risky behavior at school by supplying our children with condoms at schools. Furthermore, the IFP...
Honorable Member, your time is up.
Thank you.
FF Plus.
Thank you, Chairperson. Geleide wat die ANC-regering oor pensioenfondse maak, raak al hoe meer onheilspellend, veral gesien teen die agtergrond van die verwoestingswerk van Transnet se 2 fondse. Die ANC se voorsitter in Gauteng, Paul Mashatile, het onlangs die gevaardigde hieroor laat flikker toe hy gesê het die ANC sal met sy volgende algemene raadsvergadering in Oktober vanjaar na maniere kyk om werkers meer te bemagtig deur aan te dui hoe en waar hul pensioengeld belê moet word. Volgens Mashatile is dit 'n poging om Suid-Afrika se ekonomie te transformeer. Dit is ongelukkige feit dat die ANC Suid-Afrika die afgelope 21 jaar tot op die rand van ekonomiese uiteenstorting getransformeer het. Ons ekonomie huiwer tans op die rand van rommelstatus. Wat nou gebeur, het die Vryheidsfront Plus lank reeds voorspel. Die ANC se geld raak op en nou word pensioene geteiken. Dit raak al hoe meer duidelik, die ANC is niks anders as 'n marxistiese organisasie wat deur sluipwetgewing regkry wat Mugabe openlik gedoen het. Bietjie vir bietjie word eiendomsreg vernietig en vind herverspreiding plaas terwyl die regering eintlik die omgewing behoort te skep vir die ekonomie om te groei en ontwikkel. Die Vryheidsfront Plus sal enige inmenging in Suid-Afrika se pensioenfondse met mening teenstaan en self sorg dat daar gelitigeer word indien nodig. Ons sê vir die ANC, los ons pensioenfondse uit. Thank you.
The ANC.
Thank you, Chair. ANC commends Pastor Sikwane of Holiness Union Church at Buka Trust in Mpumalanga Province for playing a huge role in the establishment of Tlaisane Center of Hope in Sifunindlela Trust in Ward 35 of Mbombela Local Municipality. The opening of the center was attended by the Deputy Minister of Social Development, Bukhubane Zulu, on the invitation of the church, and she participated in social development projects in the area. This is an area plagued by a high prevalence of sexual and gender-based violence. Pastor Sikwane has provided a safe house aptly named White Door House of Hope, which will serve as a service delivery center for victims of sex abuse and gender-based violence. The MTN Foundation renovated the house, while many other stakeholders have also committed and contributed in various ways. The center will also provide nutritious meals on a daily basis for more than 500 poor young and old people who are not beneficiaries of any social grant. The house also houses Women's Cooperative, which solely focuses on sewing. This women cooperative will supply school uniforms to the surrounding schools through SASA. Simukela nemgwaqo long 6 km lojikela esabelweni iBosfontein Gambambiso Ward 23 ngaphansi kwemkhandlu wasekhaya inkomazi local municipality.
Ngixolise ukuthi isikhathi sesiphelele wena wakithi.
I thank you.
APC.
Thank you, Chair. As I was saying on Tuesday before I was cut, the community of Huntington is left wondering why the Mpumalanga Provincial Department of Basic Education is reluctant to register the school, Kurula Secondary School, when government will not pay a cent for its construction. Speculation comes in. There are about 6 or 7 buses paid by the government that ferry students to Mabarule High School in Lilydale. I was told that most of them lie idly, as not all are used. But I suspect government pays for all of them. I don't know who has the contract. The community is having a meeting today at 4 o'clock where the regional program director of the Africa Foundation is going to inform them that unless there is successful intervention, the donors are likely to negatively review their financial commitments by the end of next week. As the APC, we appeal to the Minister of Basic Education to urgently assist the process. That community, those students, must not miss out. It is such a crying shame. The people of Huntington deserve better. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. I didn't know that there was a TPC on statements to be continued. ANC.
National Health Insurance. Mfumo wa ANC wu themendhela ndzawulo ya rihanyo ya le Gauteng ku va yi tekile magoza ya ku tumbuluxa National Health Insurance a Chawelo a Soweto tanihi projeke ya ku humelerisa xivono xa NHI etikweni hinkwaro. Titliniki leyi ya NHI yi pfuna vaaki va le Sinawane, Phiri, Mapetla, Protea na Chawelo, naswona leswi i vumbhoni bya leswaku ku nga ri khale NHI yi ta humelela eka projeke leyi vavabyi va tshunguriwaka hi Dr. Musa na vaongori va endzela vavabyi emakaya va tlhela va pfuna ku va nyika mirhi kona emakaya. Vavabyi lava va nga na xiyimo xo karhata va rhumeriwa exibedhlele va tlhela va kombeleriwa ambulance ku ri yi va yisa. Vavabyi va endzeriwa vhiki na vhiki hi community health workers. Loko va vabya ngopfu va ongoriwa va va tshunguriwa kona emakaya. Ku yisa vavabyi eka tindzawulo tin'wana to fana na social development swi endliwa hi ku olova. Hi khensa Dr. Musa vatirhi.
Wena wekunene sesiphelile isikhathi ngwane. Siyabonga. Democratic Alliance.
Madam Chair, I was not the only one who was bored and annoyed by Minister Lindiwe Zulu last week when she contended that the DA did not know Africa and thus was not qualified to talk about the ANC's new best friend forever, Omar al-Bashir. The ANC criticizes the ICC for indicting Bashir for 300,000 dead in Darfur. He has not been indicted for the Sudanese civil war, where for 16 years he was in charge of the northern armies against the south. He should be indicted. In Rumbek and Adok and Bentiu and Lear, South Sudanese people told me about that war and how Bashir used the taking of slaves as a deliberate tactic. He armed and encouraged militias to take South Sudanese as slaves, and tens of thousands of Africans were taken into slavery. In this century, many remain so. They were beaten and starved and forced to abandon their Christian or traditional religions. The North Sudanese Arabic word for black person, abid, is the same word that they use for slave. This is the man who the ANC invited to our country, let leave in defiance of our own courts, and with whom it now signs cooperation agreements. A man who takes black Africans as slaves. In the same way that it defends the interests of comrades and cronies and not the people of South Africa, the ANC is in love with the African Leaders Club, not with Africans. You make me ashamed of my country.
Honorable Member, your time is up. The ANC.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair. The ANC has learned with shock and disappointment the vandalism and destruction of the struggle icon, J.B. Marks Memorial Monument recently. We are angered and deeply offended by this senseless desecration of the memorial which was erected in honor of J.B. Marks outside his hometown of Ventersdorp. We condemn this abominable act of thuggery and cowardice and call on the law enforcement agencies to investigate this incident and put the perpetrators behind bars. Uncle JB, as he was affectionately known, was born in March 1903 in Ventersdorp in the then Transvaal, and he died of heart attack in 1972 while in exile in the Soviet Union. His remains were brought back and reburied to South Africa in March 2015, together with those of another stalwart, Comrade Moses Kotane. This self-destructive attitude of these perpetrators neither contributes to the nation building nor inspires pride. They must know that it would take more than a cowardly act to erase the legacy of Comrade J.B. Marks from the history of South Africa. He worked with immeasurable commitment and dedication to ensure that South Africa belonged to all who live in it. No amount of disrespect will erase from our collective memory the gallant role played by this leader and what he represents. Comrade Marks raised the level of political consciousness to many of us and collapsed the nationality and tribal divisions to the system that the system had imposed to prevent collective action.
Honorable member, your time
Thank you very
is
much,
up.
Honorable House.
AIC. AIC. ANC.
Thanks, Chairperson. The ANC applauds the progressive initiative by the Department of Basic Education, in which 81 independent monitors were appointed and are to be deployed to all education districts in our country to monitor the writing of the examination with the assistance of the provincial education departments and our quality assurer, Umalusi. The department has further taken an initiative to train invigilators who will supervise the writing of these examinations to ensure the good quality of our National Senior Certificate examination. This shows the seriousness with which our government takes the education of our children. Ngiyabonga Sihlalo.
GA.
68 frail, bedridden, and elderly people at the Loskop Old Age Home in Ephraim Makhali will be put on the street, along with 54 members of staff who care with them, on Monday, the 17th of September. This comes as a result of the Limpopo Social Development Department refusing to pay the subsidies to the home because their application for 2015 was 1 day late. Despite pleas to the Social Development MEC and Minister Dlamini herself for intervention, no response whatsoever has been received. Requests to the Portfolio Committee Chair to bring the heads of department and MEC to account to the committee are yet to get a response. The Human Rights Commission have also been unable to get the required intervention. Many residents of the home are bedridden, suffering from Alzheimer's, and are on permanent oxygen machines and required constant daily care. The department is now in breach of the Older Persons Act and will face charges in this regard. This is yet another example of the ANC-led government's total neglect and disregard of the poor and vulnerable in South Africa. We call on Minister Dlamini to intervene today and ensure that payments are made to Loskop to avoid the devastating consequences, potential loss of life and jobs because of Limpopo's mismanagement. I thank you.
The ANC.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Chair. The ANC applauds a joint operation by the Hawks, the South African Police, and the Home Affairs Counter-Corruption Unit, which resulted in the arrest of a frontline clerk in the Home Affairs Office at King Williamstown in the Eastern Cape. The official was arrested for facilitating fraudulent marriages involving illegal foreign nationals. During the arrest, several more foreign nationals were also arrested after they were found in possession of fake IDs, fake marriage certificates, temporary IDs, and blank Home Affairs documents when their houses were searched. As the ANC, we congratulate the Department of Home Affairs for this crackdown on corruption within the department, and this is further confirmation that Minister Malusi Gigaba was correct in launching Operation Brisa Marina last month, which aims to stop the rot within the department. We hope that the arrest in King Williamstown will serve as a deterrent and a warning to those who are involved in this corruption, which does nothing but undermine our government's efforts to deliver quality services to citizens. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. There being one slot left, the ANC.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Housing project completed in Cedarville, Matatiele. Housing is at the forefront of the national agenda for delivery, and the ANC-led government is taking overall responsibility for providing houses to all. Cedarville community in Matatiele is highly pleased of having a housing project completed within a year, where 201 households have occupied their houses from a project started in July 2014 and completed in July 2015. About 60 jobs, opportunities, and skills were created and impacted respectively. The credit goes to the Ministry for adhering to the Freedom Charter. As it relates, there shall be houses for all. This has revived hopes to those whose houses are still to be provided. South Africa has made great strides in providing houses, and ANC is pleased with the progress made in providing the people of South Africa with a roof over their heads. I thank you.
Honorable members, that concludes member statements. Let's get ministerial responses. Honorable Deputy Minister, Honorable Minister, yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Chairperson, Deputy Speaker. I just want to say that the member of the ANC that was speaking about the houses in Matatiele proves beyond doubt that when we say as the African National Congress, through our Freedom Charter, that there shall be houses, security, and comfort, we mean business. And to deliver those housing on record, starting in July, by now 200 houses have been delivered. It definitely shows that the housing delivery is on track. And we want to call upon...
On a point of order, Deputy Speaker.
Yes, what's your point of order, Honorable
The
Member?
member cannot stand here and mislead us. This honorable member is grandstanding. There can never be a total delivery of houses in South Africa at this stage by the African National Congress. She's not telling the truth. This member is not telling the truth, and she stands here in front of you. You are not calling her to order. She's misleading us.
Honorable Makause, that's a political statement, ma'am. It's not a point of order.
Continue,
Please
Deputy Speaker.
don't do that again. Go ahead, Honorable Member.
It shows beyond doubt that our program of delivery of housing to our people is on track. By the fact that when we deliver houses, we also do job creation. It is positive because we are saying as we build houses, we must build communities. And the member must listen carefully. I didn't say that we have done with the housing backlog. I'm saying the portion that we are doing is positive because it makes difference. I thank you.
Honorable Gigaba.
Order, Deputy Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Member.
I never wanted to disrupt the Deputy Minister. I just wanted to check, is it honorable for her to wear a jumping castle?
Honorable members, your time is coming to go home very soon. Don't be in a hurry. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. The launch of Operation Visa Masina by the Department of Home Affairs has already begun yielding very positive results. Since we launched it in July this year, 26 officials, including members of the public involved in document fraud and corruption, have been arrested, including most recently in Soshanguve, Umgeni, as well as in Tembisa. We want to make it clear that the eagles of the Department of Home Affairs, our counter-corruption unit, are doing us proud by the focused manner in which they are attacking and combating document fraud and corruption. We wish to congratulate them, to plead with them to continue working so hard and ensure that we can ensure that the Department of Home Affairs is freed from corruption and document fraud. I would like Honorable Deputy Speaker to comment on the statement about President al-Bashir, who was invited by the African Union to South Africa and not the South African government. Despite the fact that we have made this point very clear on several occasions, certain members are hell-bent on spreading disinformation and untruths about the presence of President al-Bashir to our country. President al-Bashir remains central to the resolution of the problems of Sudan and ensuring that there is sustainable peace in that country. Many in the opposition benches, particularly the DA, deserve to be at The Hague for the crimes they committed against Africans in South Africa during the apartheid period. Many of them never even appeared before.
Point of order.
Yes, honourable member, what's the point of order?
The honourable member has accused members on this side of the House of committing crimes that would warrant us going before The Hague. I would say that he cannot do that unless he brings a substantive motion before the House, and I would ask that he withdraws that statement forthwith.
I will rule on that. Your time has expired. Honourable member?
Thank you.
Honourable Nkwinti, just now. Honourable members,
Deputy Speaker,
can you give me a moment? Can you give me a moment? I will rule on that matter. Yes. Honourable Nkwinti.
Sekela Sondeto enkosi. Ndifuna uthetha kulo mcimbi ka Mongameli uBashir. Ngo-1982 kukho ixhego lakwaDanis.
Deputy Speaker, on a point of order.
Ixhego le-African National Congress.
Deputy Speaker, on a point of order. I'll tell you if you just listen. Deputy Speaker, the Honourable Minister of Home Affairs has dealt with the member statement in al-Bashir, and now we have a second minister addressing the same statement, which is not allowed. And it's not in his portfolio either. So it's been dealt with, and the minister must address another member statement. Thank you.
Yes. The rules allow ministers to respond to any matter, man.
Enkosi Sekela Sondeto. Ke kwakunzima mos ngo-1982 elaa xesha silwela inkululeko yelizwe. Lithe lixhego uyabona ke Bonyana funeka ningafani nehagu. Ngumzabalazi mosithetha ngawo. Uthetha nge-ANC elalungu. Ndilungu le-ANC mna. Uthi lo tata ningafani nehagu. Ihagu xa ihamba ijonga phansi apha phambi kwayo ayijongi phaa. Nina ke ze ningazenzi ihagu. So thina asifani nehagu kwa-African National Congress. Sijonga phaa, asijongi apha. Enkosi.
Any further ministerial responses? Can you give it again?
Remember, there was a problem about the member having a second bite the other day, but if she responds to a different matter, I think she might.
Yes. Honourable Deputy Minister, only if you are responding to a different matter.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Deputy Speaker.
Yes,
The Honourable Minister has had Deputy Minister, sorry, has had an opportunity to respond. How are you going to? She has 2 minutes, according to Rule 1076 or 1077. Sorry, no, sorry. You're limited to 2 minutes for a reply. Are you going to deduct what the Honourable Deputy Minister has used already from the 2 minutes? Or are you going to give her full 2 minutes again? How are you going to do this, Deputy Speaker? Can we get some guidance, please?
This is why I made it a precondition. She can't respond to what she responded to. Yes, Honourable Member. Please go ahead, Honourable Member.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I am responding to the statement made by the ANC on Commissar Chair Masilela. I want to say that Comrade Chair was a cadre of a special type, a commissar in the army who also trained me. But more than that, the Secretary of Defense until his untimely death. I want to congratulate the Steve Chwete municipality, the Veterans League there, as military veterans and SACP, and say long live the spirit of chair, long live. But more than that, I want to say that in his memory, at the Department of Human Settlements, we are building 5,000 houses for military veterans because we want to make sure that their works continue.
May I address you?
Thank you. Yes, Honourable Member.
Deputy Speaker, I rise on Rule 1057, well, 6 of 7, where it stated that the time for ministerial responses, in fact 6, sorry, is limited to 2 minutes. The time the Deputy Minister had previously for the two-member statement that she responded to, and the time currently is well over 2 minutes, and I suggest that you invoke Rule 1056, please. Thank you.
Okay. Finish your statement, Honourable Member. You done?
We will continue pick up his fallen spear. May his soul rest in peace. Phansi nge-DA phansi.
Phansi nge-ANC phansi.
Honourable Members, there are 6 ministerial response opportunities. The rules do not say no minister can respond twice. There is no limitation to which opportunities ministers can do. The restriction we are placing on ministers, they can't respond to the same matter themselves on 2 occasions, because it would create the problems the Honourable Waters is raising there. We have allowed it because it's a response to different opportunities. We have often stated that, Honourable Members, that if there are additional opportunities for ministers to respond, ministers or deputy ministers, we allow them to do that. Because after all, when members make statements, they do expect those statements to be responded to. And this is why ministers do that. Thank you very much, Honourable Members. That concludes the ministerial responses. Honourable Members, we now move to notices of motion. In line with the motion as moved by the Chief Whip of the Majority Party, we now come to notices of motion. Does any member wish to give a notice of motion? Yes, Honourable Member at the back.
Deputy Speaker,
Yes.
I asked you to make a ruling earlier. It's very clear that the Honourable Gagaba is about to gap it, which means that you're not going to be able to make a ruling in his absence. I would ask that you apply your mind to make a ruling. When members of the opposition say things that require a substantive motion, you make us do it immediately. When he does it, he's allowed to simply get away with it. And he's about to gap it back out of here, probably back to the cabinet meeting where the rest of his colleagues are, and I'm not going to be able to have an opportunity for you to make a considered ruling on the matter.
Honourable Members, it is wrong what you're suggesting, that I No. I do wish you to appreciate these comments that members make in the House. We want to be as close to accuracy of their responses as we can so that we give satisfactory rulings. For example, the Honorable Gigaba referred to members. Okay? Referred to members. No, which member was that? Yeah, DA members, yes. What I'm saying is that I want to look at the Hansard correctly so that we have asked members here to come back to me with an advice. I work with advice on the table. I have requested to do them. That ruling will be made on the basis of that advice that I will get.
Deputy Speaker, with respect, the Honourable Mshlongo was at the podium earlier in the debate, and he was forced, because he didn't have a substantive motion when he made allegations, to withdraw it. The Honourable Gagaba said that members of the DA on this side of the House should be before The Hague for crimes against humanity. Now, that's a very serious allegation.
Yes,
and
this is why it is important that I give a ruling to it.
He's a matter.
The problem is, the problem is, Deputy Speaker, is that you give an immediate ruling when it's members of the opposition. It's always a long, drawn-out process when it's members of the ANC.
Honourable member, let me give you this. There are people who are working on that and will bring a ruling here. I'll give it as soon as it comes here so that it is given properly and so on after having it been considered.
Deputy Minister.
Deputy Speaker.
Someone, a Deputy Speaker,
he's about to pull an al-Bashir and leave the chamber. How are we going to then have a ruling when he's already kept it?
now. Mhlonishwa lapho ngaphambili. Ake wenze njengomuntu obizwa ngo-referee odlalisa ibhola. Okufanele ukuthi mayidlalisa ibhola enze sure ukuthi akathathi isayidi ukuze abantu begcine bengalimali. Wena unenkinga and ngempela lenkinga yakho ngeke siyibekezelele. Zama ukushintsha simisela ngokuhlonipha la kodwa lento yenzayo ayizukulunga ngiyabonga.
Ngiyabona lungu elihloniphekileyo ureferee uyomona gijimela emqeni ukuyobuza ulinesman ngisabuza kulinesman ngizophinda kuwena ma.
Deputy Speaker. Point of order, Deputy Speaker.
Yebo.
You know the manner in which you are handling this house is so one-sided and disruptive. That's why every time you are there, the house is getting disrupted. You are very biased.
Honorable members.
Honorable Chairperson, Deputy Speaker, on a point of order.
Yes, Honorable
Member. The Chief Whip of the DA has just called the Minister of Home Affairs, Al-Bashir. I don't think that it is parliamentary. We cannot allow that thing to happen. It is because we can do the same.
We'll come back. Honorable members. Honorable member, I'd give you an opportunity for a notice of motion. Notices of motion. Yes, honorable member, come.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, on behalf of the Inkatha Freedom Party, I shall move at the next sitting of this House that the House debate what system is in place to further educate and provide skill to emerging contractors. I so move.
Yes, honorable member. Go ahead, honorable member.
I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that at its next sitting, this House debates the Commission for Gender Equality's report on gender transformation in South African football. I so move.
Yes, honorable member, the back.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I rise on behalf of the EFF to move that in its next sitting, the House debates boosting our agriculture to ensure that it realizes its full potential as the next growth sector in the country, able to create jobs and feed the nation. Thank you.
Honorable van der Merwe.
Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Speaker. I hereby give notice that I shall move on behalf of the Inkatha Freedom Party that this House at its next sitting debates the excessive bureaucratic red tape that hinders child adoption processes in our country and what urgent steps should be taken to compel the state to improve and align its processes in this regard. I so move.
Yes, Honorable Member, the back. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of the Inkatha Freedom Party, I shall move for the next sitting of this House that the House debate the unavailability of sufficient grid access to the IPPs and renewable energy developers and the short and long-term solutions to this challenge.
Honorable Member.
I move on behalf of the ANC that in its next sitting, the House debates the revitalization, equipping and resourcing of nursing colleges, as well as the increasing of the recruitment of trainees. I so move. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Koshi.
Ke a leboga motlotlegi motlatsa Musa Khotla. Mo boemong jwa mokgatlo wa batho wa African National Congress ke tsitsinya gore mo nakong e tlang ntlo e ya kokwano bo setšhaba e ngangisane ka mekgwa e re ka e tsayang go rotloetsa le go potlakisa kgodiso ya metshameko botaki ngwao le setso sa maAfrika Borwa mo dikolong tsa rona. Ke a leboga motlotlegi.
Thank you. Yes, Honorable.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that at its next sitting, this House debates the continued irregular expenditure within the Department of Basic Education.
Yes, Honorable Member.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that at its next sitting, this House debates ways to strengthen internal controls that prevent fraud and corruption within the public sector. I hereby move.
Thank you. Yes, Honorable Member, the back.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I move on behalf of ANC that in its next sitting, the House debates the speeding up the process of insourcing essential support services such as catering, cleaning, laundry, and security. I thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Honorable Member.
Ngibonge lapho Deputy Speaker. Ngithi ngokulandelayo ake sikhulume ngesikhungo sezindiza lapha kwaZulu Natal. Lesi sikhungo sasiserinyana iminyaka emide, sasuka erinyana sase-King Shaka. Abantu kuyimanje abanayo indawo yokuhlala, neimoto zabo akuvumelekile ukuthi ngaphakathi zipakwe. Besicela baphakanyelwe laba bantu ngoba nabo bangaba la eSouth Africa and noShaka uqobo ngeke azajabule ukubona abantu bala eSouth Africa bengenayo indlela yokusizakala. Noma buyakhulu akafunda ukubanikeza namathenda futhi laba bantu abanama tourists lapha hayi lokho enika abantu abanenwele ezinde kuphela. Ngiyabonga.
Yes, Honorable Member at the back.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I move on behalf of ANC that in its next sitting, the House debates promoting rural women's access to vital resources such as safe and affordable energy, water, and land. I so move.
Yes, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I rise on behalf of the EFF that in its next sitting, the House debates mechanism to stop leaders of the ruling party from using food parcels as a means of buying votes from our people in the upcoming local government elections next year, especially in OR Tambo.
Yes, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
I move on behalf of the ANC that in its next sitting, the House debates strengthening South Africa's postgraduate training in research and innovation as means to improve the country's global competitiveness. I so move.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Members, are there any motions without notice? Yes, Honourable Member.
Chairperson, the ANC moves without notice that the House welcomes the launch of an annual festival in the memory of the late Public Service Minister Collins Chabane in Limpopo recently. Notes that the main event will be held at the Malamulele Stadium every April and will end with a match between Kaizer Chiefs and Limpopo legend. Acknowledges that the showbiz mogul King Chauke, in partnership with the Chabane family, launches the Collins Chabane Cultural Festival to promote the legacy of the late minister who died in the car accident in March this year. Further acknowledges that the festival will be directed by the Chauke and former Kaizer Chiefs and Bafana Bafana goalkeeper Bran Balui. Understands that it will start off as the talent search to unearth talent, music, and dance, and congratulate the organizers of this annual event in their efforts to keep the legacy of Collins Chabane alive. As we move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion.
Deputy Speaker, the Economic Freedom Fighters objects.
Okay. NFP.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. On behalf of the National Freedom Party, I move without notice that this Honourable House notes that on Tuesday, the 8th of September 2015, the South African police have started Operation Stopper in Nyanga in the Western Cape to bring crime under control in the area. And also notes that Nyanga has the shameful title of being the murder capital of South Africa, with statistics for the year 2012-2013 revealing that 262 murder cases were registered at the Nyanga police station, higher than any other in the country. And further notes that hijacking of cars, robberies, and drug-related crimes are also prevalent in Nyanga, leaving the residents at the mercy of criminals. And acknowledges that Operation Stopper, which involves police officers, traffic officials, law enforcement, and SAPS specialized units, has already yielded significant results, with several arrests being made for drug dealing, drunken driving, and possession of drugs, whilst 228 kilograms of dacha and 141 liters of alcohol has been confiscated in the first day of the operation. And finally notes that Operation Stopper will continue in the area for an indefinite time until the situation is stabilized. Wherefore, we call upon this Honourable House to congratulate the South African Police for the crime eradication operation launched in Nyanga and encourage the Nyanga community to join the police in their fight against crime. I so move. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable. If there are no objections, I put the motion. Yes, Honourable
The
Member.
EFF object.
Honourable Member at the back. Yes, Honourable.
Thank you,
Ngiyabonga,
Deputy
Baba.
Speaker. I rise on behalf of the Economic Freedom Fighters to move without notice that the House notes that in Pumalanga at Umjindi local municipality, pensioners fear eviction from their homes. These developments are prompted by the notice signed by the municipal manager, Mr. Patrick Msibi. Tenants living in 50 Umjindi municipality-owned apartments, of which 90% are pensioners and indigents, may soon find themselves homeless. Further notes that all these developments were made after a notice to sell these flats was handed to them on Wednesday, 12 August 2015. Further note that all indications are that the properties will be sold on public auction in September 21. The notice delivered on Wednesday reads that all tenants will have to enter into new agreements with the new flats management or the potential buyer of the flats after the auction. Further acknowledge that a shelter is a basic human right issue. Prioritizing about making money must not take precedence over human suffering. Further urge the Department of Human Settlements to act speedily
to resolve this matter. I so move.
If there are no objection, I put the motion.
The ANC object.
Motion falls away. Yes, honorable member at the back. Quiet, honorable member.
Ndiyabonga Sekela Somlomo. Ndiphakama egameni le-EFF uba le ndlu yowiso-mthetho iqaphele ukungaphatheki kakuhle kwabantwana abazinkedama abathi bashiywe ngabazali bashiywe eligcineni lezihlobo nezalamane. Iphinde iqaphele uba sithetha nje eBhayi kuward 56 ekamva eMotherwell eButhelezi Street phansi kokhansela uNathi Mamenemene kukho abantwana abathathu abathi bashiywa ngabazali babo baze bashiywa eligcineni lukamakazi wabo uNombulelo Mngqongo Kamana. Ivume ngoku okubana umakazi lo wabo uNombulelo akavumi ukubanika indlu yakowabo. Utshatile uhlala nabantwana bakhe nomyeni wakhe kule ndlu yezinkedama and uzikhuphela ngaphandle ngoku zona zizinkedama ezinje. Uphinde uvume ukuba ikamva laba bantwana ngoku lisemngciphekweni bahamba berenta kodwa benekhaya abakwazi nokuqhubekeka nokufunda. Abantwana ngoku baphila ngegrant karhulumente ekunzima noba imane ihlaziywa kuba bengena address isisigxina abanayo. Kuba baxuthelwa le ndlu sesisikhohlakali sikamakazi.
Order,
Yenze
Chair.
isimbonono.
Order, Chair. Order, Chair.
It's your member on the floor.
It is my member. Kubi kakhulu oqhamuka ngapha uma ngabe member ikhuluma kuthiwe ikhuluma ngenhlupheko yabantu abamnyama kuthiwe ayahamba ayohlala nabo kukhulunywa ngengane kodwa zabantu abamnyama ezihluphekayo. Ngicela ukuthi uyikhuze leyo nto leyo imbi kabi.
Honorable members, please, let's allow members to proceed.
Enkosi Sekela Somlomo. Yenza isimbonono sicela okokubana ke le ndlu yenze isimbonono kumasebe karhulumente nomasipala eBhayi ukuba athathe amanyathelo ukusombulula le ngxaki. Uqinisekise ukuba abantwana bayabuyela elikhayeni labo. Somlomo, Sekela Somlomo wami omhle obekekileyo. La kona le asinandaba nayo. Yenziwa phofu yile bar ilapha eParliament. Babahlala bedakiwe ngalo lonke ixesha ezantos pha. Nihlala nidakiwe nina aninangqondo. On a point of order, Chair.
On a point of order, Chair.
There's a member behind you there. There's a member behind you, honorable member.
Chairperson, Deputy Speaker, this member says we are drunk. Angiphuza utshwala mina. Akunabhara la, siphuza utshwala and uthi sidakwe ngicela ukuthi ahoqise Deputy Speaker. It's an insult.
Point of order, Chair. Point of order, Chair.
Yes, honorable member.
Point of order, Chair. Chairperson.
I'm listening.
Members of this house were elected by people, particularly our poor people. I raised a point that these same people are saying when our member is on the podium addressing a very sensitive matter, she must go and stay with those orphans who are without shelter over their head.
Deputy Speaker.
What kind of an utterance is that coming from ANC people?
Okay. Yeah.
We are not owing ANC any fucking damn thing, man.
Deputy Speaker.
Yes, honorable member.
Deputy Speaker. I challenge you as a presiding officer to bring a breathalyzer now and test who's drunk in this corner and go there and test again or as well. I challenge you now to bring that breathalyzer. We are willing and ready to be tested. We can't be called drunkards as members of parliament because abantu bachai drugs. It can't happen that way.
Honorable members, all of the members who have raised and spoken the way they have used, including the language they've used, honorable members, we have spoken about this matter in the House. It's beyond me now. I think it requires a different response to it altogether. This is the comments that members do whilst others are speaking, and the comments that comes from those who respond to that is something else altogether. I do wish that we do not go into that direction, because I would like us, I'm going to refer firstly this thing to the Chief Whips Forum themselves, and I would like us to talk to the Speaker about how we respond to all of these issues that have been raised in the manner in which they have been raised. I'm coming back here now, as I promised earlier on other rulings.
Deputy Speaker, before you
Yes.
do that, if I
Yes.
may. I'm sorry, Deputy Speaker, and we
Yes.
can have a discussion about it in the Chief Whips Forum. But there's certain words that are just never uttered in this House. Now, the Honourable Mshlongo has uttered that word. And if you allow it to now go, without asking him to withdraw it, it becomes part of the precedent that that's an acceptable term in the House. Now, I'm happy for you to study the Hansard, etc., but we all heard what that word was. It's not acceptable for Parliament. And I would ask that he is asked to withdraw that word.
Honorable members, Oza Babu Mhlongo, ngiyakubona ufuna ukuza. Uzela wena ngokwakho.
Deputy Speaker,
Yeah.
with all due respect,
Yes.
in law, South African jurisprudence guarantees all of us equality and freedom of speech.
Yes.
We cannot allow arrogance to dominate our own intellectual thinking in this House, as if we are owing anybody anything from the desk of the ANC. Various members have requested you, through your position, to call for a withdrawal of so-called unparliamentary language here. You said yourself, you are going to the hindsight. I will be called to order twice today. None of these people who are behaving recklessly. I spent my time in the trenches fighting for freedom of this country. I don't owe anyone any single thing. EFF here is not owing anyone anything. Now that we are going to be insulted here, and ANC use its cheap, lousy majority, Menshevik style, to dominate us, who they think they are.
Honorable member, I thought you are bringing a solution. You volunteered to come to speak. I thought you are bringing a solution. Honorable Chief Whip.
Deputy Speaker, I just
Yes.
want to point to the precedent that's been created in this House.
No, there's no
No,
precedent.
there is a precedent.
No,
there is a precedent.
Why?
I have a member who was suspended for a week
Honorable
for
member,
using language in the
there
House.
is no precedent being said. Can you take your seat?
I'm
If you are
saying
not
to-
raising
will you
something
please
new-
listen to me, Deputy Speaker? I said we have precedent in this House. One of my members was found guilty of using that word in the House and was suspended for a week. All I'm asking you to do is be consistent with the rulings of this House and get the member to withdraw it and refer it to the Rules Committee.
Honorable member, please take your seat. I told you what I'm going to do on the spot here very soon, yes. Honorable member, what are you raising on?
Ngibonge lapho sekela somlomo ngaphambili. Eqinisweni akufanele lento siyenza ngoba lento ikhombisa ukuthi asiyazi into esizele la. Mina bengizocela nje ke sixoxe kuhlalwe phansi kuvezwe ikhambi ukuthi izolungiswa kanjani ngoba lento imbi izoya iqhubeka and ibulala nekusasa lethu nelekusasa lale South Africa sayilwelayo. Ngiyabonga.
Honorable members, yes, Honorable Deputy Minister and Honorable Hlengwa, you will be the last one on this matter. Yeah.
Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Honorable Deputy Speaker, clearly the rules do not make provision for vulgar and offensive language. It's not part of the freedom of expression, cannot be protected, is not compatible with the decorum of the House, and I urge the Honorable Deputy Speaker to request the Honorable Member to withdraw the offensive word. Thank you.
Honorable Flengwa.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, the Deputy Minister has covered. Now, I respect the fact that you want to refer this entire episode to the Chief Whips Forum. But at the same vein, I want to make a humble plea to yourself and to Honorable Mhlongo for him to restore the dignity of this House and to withdraw that particular phrase which he used. But indeed, refer the entire episode to Chief, but we cannot live here under a cloud of such language. I just appeal to you that let us address that particular instance. Thank you.
Honorable Killian.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, I would like to support some of the members on the floor. It was a clear, Rule 63 on offensive language makes it very clear that no member shall use offensive or unbecoming language. And I would like to suggest that that is exactly what the Honorable Mhlongo has done. We understand that we sometimes get heated under the collar, but nothing can excuse that, and we must have uniformity of application of the rules, and therefore we request you to have the Honorable Mhlongo withdraw that phraseology. That was unbecoming. Thank you.
Yes. Honorable Mhlongo.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. As I withdraw, I expect the same responsible act from those in opposition to us, not unilateral application of this so-called withdrawal of so-called unparliamentary language. I do humbly withdraw as a respectful citizen of this country.
Honorable members, I'm going to come back to the rulings on these matters immediately. Let me put the Honorable Sondi's motion. If there are no objections, I put the motion. Motion falls away. Any further? Yes, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I rise on behalf of the economic freedom fighters without notice that the House note the dangerous and undemocratic terrain in which the ANC government, with the support of the Democratic Alliance, the Parliament of South Africa has been turned into a militarizing spaces that embodied the spirit of freedom of speech. Note that every time the Commander-in-Chief and the President of the Economic Freedom Fighters, Julius Malema, is in the precinct of Parliament, there is more police visibility and the Speaker's bouncers who were appointed illegally roaming around if there is a security alert. Note that at any given day when the Commander-in-Chief of the EFF, Julius Malema, is in the House, Mark's building, the Speaker's bouncers will all be in each corner of the 4th floor, something which is unheard or unseen before in Parliament. Further note that the environment has become so hostile. Members of the EFF who were elected democratically to this Parliament do not accept, will never accept intimidation from intellectuality, bankrupt people who cannot argue and resort to violence when faced with facts of their own corruption. Further note that it was the very same Speaker's bouncers, former police who were appointed illegally to assault members of the EFF in Parliament, who physically assaulted a female, a mother, a sister, and a daughter, a member of the EFF in the National Council of Provinces, while the presiding officer laughs and clapped on such disgusting act. We warn the ANC, if they think people are not watching, if they think the world is not watching. South Africans will not allow them to turn their parliament into what they have done with the ANC, where they kill each other all the time for political power so that they distribute tenders amongst their cronies. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion.
The ANC objects.
Yes, honorable member.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that this House notes the astonishing discovery of a new species called Homo naledi, notes that this was announced today in the cradle of humankind near Johannesburg. Further notes that the collection of Homo naledi fossils was found deep inside a chamber of the Rising Star Cave, and that with the remains of 15 individuals of varying age, consisting of more than 1,550 numbered fossil elements found in the cave, scientists are calling this the biggest discovery of its kind on African soil and of great international importance. Further notes that this is the first possible discovery of a species related to us that deliberately disposed of the dead. Congratulates Professor Lee Berger and his team, as well as the University of the Witwatersrand, and also acknowledges the hard work that they have done over many years. And lastly, applaud the decision to make this discovery available to the public through a month-long display at the Marupeng Visitor Center. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objection.
The EFF object, and I do know about it.
Yes,
I
honourable
went
member.
to school.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that this House notes, 1, the slow pace in improving the living conditions of Marikana mine workers. 2, the Department of Human Settlements in the Northwest Province having built BNG and community residential units in Marikana Extension 2 and put an income qualifying criteria of between 0 and 3,500, thus excluding mine workers. 3, notes that both the BNG and the CRU units have not been allocated as there is a standoff between the mine workers, community, and the Department of Human Settlements. 4, recalls that the 50 hectares piece of land where the housing units are built was donated by Lone Min following the 2012 killings. 5, further recalls that Marikana has been identified as part of the special presidential package for distressed mining towns. We therefore call Deputy Speaker on the Department of Human Settlements and the Presidency to 1, speedily resolve the impasse between the mine workers and community members, and finally, to come up with an allocation criteria that will ensure that the mine workers will benefit from the housing units at Marikana Extension 2. I thank you, Deputy Speaker.
If there are no objections, I put the motion.
Yeah. These ones, they don't have knowledge of the working conditions of Marikana. We object.
Yes, honorable. Yes, honorable member.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I rise on behalf of EFF to move without notice that the House knows the recently completed third edition of the annual Bewanamoteka Sports Development Tournaments, which attracts massive support and participation from Mamune area and surrounding villages in Limpopo. Further knows that the tournament started in 2014 and attracted over 8 teams of under 15s and senior team club squads fighting each other. Acknowledges that hosting a tournament of this nature requires a lot of money and sacrifice, and that to date we have allocated 4 sets of soccer kits to different teams. 2 won as tournament top prizes, and 2 were freely given to the teams that didn't have anything to wear during the games. These kits came at a cost of around 20,000. Further acknowledges that we made available trophies in gold, silver, bronze, and bronze medals, categories to the value of 5,000, soccer balls of the value of 7,000, and we allocated 120 pairs of running deggies to all 15 players from each team of all eight participated teams, and paid referees 50 rand each per game. Extends our words of appreciation to Love Life, Advocate Dalim Pofu, the chairperson of EFF in Ekurhuleni, Mampuru, Fighter Kabelo Mapia, Fighter Mhlala Mabrunyan Ace, who helped to donate with balls, soccer kits, teggies, and medals and trophies. Calls on the Department of Sports and Recreation to invest in sports development in the rural areas instead of having a minister goes after Beyonce and Mayweather, forgetting that we can produce our own sports stars if we can invest in their development. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion.
Object.
Yes. Honourable Member.
Chairperson, the ANC moves without notice that the House welcomes the prescribed minimum sentence of life in jail given to Sipiwe Zondani for the call-outs cop killing on Tuesday, 8 September 2015. Notes that Zondani was convicted on the charge of murder related to the death of Detective Constable Mtetheleli Gaina and the wounded of his colleagues Constable Vuyolwetu Mandashe and Sergeant Mruisi But on October 17, 2014. Acknowledges the comment by the Western Cape High Court judges Elise Stein that the 31-year-old Zondani conduct on October 17, 2014 was callous and deplorable. Understands that the conviction was secured from the sterling argument by State Prosecutor Advocate Jacqueline Sibia, coupled with an excellent investigation by Lieutenant Colonel Mike Bakenzen, and congratulates all the people involved in this case who contributed to the conviction of Sipiwo Zondani. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion.
The EFF objects.
Okay. Motion falls away. And if, yes, Honourable Final Member?
Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Speaker. I hereby move without notice on behalf of the Inkatha Freedom Party that this House notes the perpetual absence of cabinet ministers from sittings of this House. Further notes that this severely impedes the work of Parliament and MPs, whose duty it is to hold the executive to account, and calls on cabinet ministers to respect the institution of Parliament and South Africans at large by honouring, respecting and attending to their parliamentary duties regularly and not on an ad hoc basis. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion.
The EFF objects.
Honourable Final Member, you are not supposed to have read that motion because you didn't circulate it. You know, don't break that rule. Anyway, it's gone, it's objected to, so it's irrelevant.
Okay, I was being proactive.
That's not being provocative. You can't proactively break the rules. Honourable members, during the ministerial responses earlier on, the Minister of Home Affairs said that many in the opposition benches, particularly the DA, deserve to be at The Hague for crimes they committed against Africans in South Africa during the apartheid period. This is a clear reference to members of the opposition, specifically in the DA, and to suggest that members, either individually or collectively, were involved in crimes against humanity is clearly unparliamentary. The minister may not be in the House, but he will be asked to withdraw those remarks. And this message that Molato Hauboli, we also wish to convey it to all the other members in the House who deliberately break the rules. And even if and when we plead with them not to do so, continue to do so. The second one that I would like to refer to is Honorable Sonti, who said members, to translate it, are drunk, but tagiwe. Honorable Sonti, this is unparliamentary, and we would like you to withdraw it, ma'am. Honorable Sonti, all the honorable members, please allow the chair to conduct affairs of the House. Honorable Sonti, will you take your stand and withdraw? Thank you, honorable members. Honorable members, can we plead with us, all of us here, that offensive language, from wherever part of the House it comes from, does not improve the quality of our arguments. It does not improve the quality of our status anywhere. It increases the damage we do to the reputation Parliament collectively and as an institution, but as members of Parliament, generally speaking. And so I hope members will recognize the value of not going this route. It's completely unacceptable, and I hope that the chief whips will contribute to a discussion amongst themselves and amongst their members on how effectively we can bring this to an end without going forward anymore. Honorable members, the Secretary will read the first order of the day. Which one? First and second. Oh yes, it's first and second orders together. I'm sorry, I missed it here.
Consideration of 8th report of Committee on Public Accounts on annual report and financial statements of third-party funds and report of Auditor General on 2013-14 financial year. Consideration of 9th report of Committee on Public Accounts on annual report and financial statements of Department of Water Affairs, Water Trading Entity, and report of Auditor General on 2013-14 financial year.
Honorable Godi, the chairperson of the committee, will introduce the reports.
Thank you, Chair, comrades, and honorable members. We once again present the 8th and 9th reports of the Standing Committee on Public Accounts. These deal with the annual reports of the third-party fund and the Department of Water Affairs and the Water Trading Entity. We put these reports for the House to adopt. As we present these reports, let me express my appreciation to all my colleagues for their continuous, collective, and united approach to our work. Thanks must also be extended to our staff for their diligence. The third-party fund has always been a problem child of the Department of Justice, Constitutional Development, and Correctional Services. It is not the first time that we have presented a report on the third-party fund. We even did an oversight visit to check exactly what the challenges were. Much effort has been exerted, but the entity is not out of the wood yet, as seen by the disclaimer of audit opinion by the Auditor General. A disclaimer of audit opinion reflects a serious breakdown in internal controls. One of the key issues is the proper keeping of records, reflected in the inability to reconcile receivables and payables, among others. We call on the accounting officer to fast-track the implementation of a new accounting system to replace the current unsuitable Justice Deposit Accounting System, JDAS, to ensure complete, accurate, and reliable financial information and reporting. We are recommending that the minister should submit a progress report to the House 60 days from today and thereafter give quarterly reports. The Water Affairs Department and its water trading entity have been receiving qualified audit opinions for the last 5 years. On almost all issues of concern, be it commitments, accruals, or immovable tangible capital assets, the main challenge is the absence of records to confirm transactions. There is poor management of expenditure leading to irregular and fruitless and wasteful expenditure. Procurement and contract management is also not in a good shape. Human resource management is equally not in a good state, with some employees' qualifications claims not verified on their employment in contravention of relevant regulations. Some employees are paid salaries higher than permitted by regulations. We are calling for an investigation and action to be taken against responsible managers. We once again as COPA make a call for all of us to exert all efforts to improve public administration, especially public finance management. The NDP calls for the building of a capable state. All accounting officers, managers, and civil servants must answer to the question of how they are contributing to realizing that objective, especially protecting the public purse. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I now recognize the Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
On behalf of
Oh,
the Chief Whip of the Majority Party, I hereby move that the first and the second reports be adopted.
The question before the House is that the report be adopted. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Okay, the ayes have it.
Deputy Speaker?
Yes.
The DA would like an opportunity to make a declaration, please. Thank you.
The declaration having been asked, Honourable Member, proceed.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you to the Chairperson of the committee for those kind words. As a collective in SCOPA, I think we work towards a common goal in ensuring that there's consequences for those transgressing officials in the departments. The deficient financial management practices and corrupt activities within these departments hinder the state's ability to eradicate poverty and, of course, hinders the ability to improve the lives of South African citizens. Sadly, this has become part and parcel of the ANC run departments at national and provincial level. Chairperson, today's consideration of the reports presented to SCOPA are no different than the years before. With regards to the Department of Water Affairs, the current situation is, and I was informed by my colleague in this department, that the Minister now acknowledges that National Treasury has not yet approved the department's request for rollovers to an extent of 1.6 billion and 1.5 billion. Of course, this constitutes 3.1 billion of money earmarked for service delivery infrastructure within that department that has been compromised. Let me repeat the figure of 3.1 billion of service delivery for infrastructure has been compromised and indeed cannot be rolled over. It is within this context that we are concerned that the Department of Water and Sanitation also now has to take over the role of the very dysfunctional Department of Human Settlements in terms of financial management. It is in this regard that a special audit indicated that the Rural Household Infrastructure Program found that the department in 2010 and 2013, in that department, only 501 million of an allocated budget of 2.1 billion has been spent. That gives you an estimate of about 700 billion unspent in terms of toilets for the poorest of the poor in the rural constituencies. Noting this above, we are concerned that the report found that the Department of Water and Sanitation did not have adequate systems in place to maintain records of the regional bulk infrastructure program. This is indeed a disgrace, Chairperson, and there were significant differences in the amounts disclosed in the 2013-14 financial year. We are, however, as I said in the beginning, encouraged by SCOPA's recommendation that Treasury regulations will be enforced, that we will work towards sustainable solutions in terms of the Public Finance Management Act and also the Municipal Finance Management Act. Just 2 days ago, Chairperson, this House debated the scourge of corruption in the public sector. The DA emphasized the way to fix it, and it's not complicated. All that is required is for government to ensure that there's accountability and consequences for those that contravene these legislation, including the Treasury regulation. Chairperson, just perhaps in conclusion on the water, The year after year, the DA has shown that where we govern, we deliver the basic services to all and receive clean audits after clean audits on a yearly basis. Now, with regards to the declaration on the third-party fund administered by the Department of Justice, it is exactly the same as a trust account of an attorney. But and here lies the problem. What is interesting is that any attorney who would handle his or her trust account in the manner in which the Department of Justice have handled their third-party fund over 21 years would be expelled from that profession. Instead, but in the case of the department, the mismanagement of this fund has been allowed to go on. Certainly, the SCOPA, as a committee, we will not tolerate this mismanagement of funds, and there will be consequences for those transgressors.
There will be consequences if you don't obey.
Deputy Speaker, something horrible has happened with the third-party funds. A clear indication how complacent and reckless SCOPA in this parliament have become at holding accounting officers accountable. It is a clear indication that the chairperson of SCOPA has been sitting on that chair for too long. Just like 2 weeks back, this week, this parliament was debating corruption, and the chairperson of SCOPA was not here to show that it does not have interest anymore in what it's doing. All it's doing is being a praising of the ANC. For all we know, there are no more funds left. What is clear, however, is that by adopting this report with the mere recommendations that are nothing but a rubber stamp to a dysfunctional governance and maladministration, this is where ANC strive. This is where ANC corruption lives. The Auditor General could not even conduct an audit because the fund has failed dismally to keep any records or put adequate systems in place to maintain the record of the monies received. It has been more than a year before even EFF arrived in this parliament that now the House is adopting the annual report. Something is not right. Accounting officers will not see the need to put place necessary and required systems to keep proper records. If all they see from Parliament are recommendations suited for an accounting officer who missed meetings instead of failing to keep the record of monies received for the fund, the EFF will never be part of rubber stamping the dysfunctional institution and reject this report.
Honorable Kengwa.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I would want to echo the sentiments of the chairperson of SCOPA. We're doing very good work there. And I think that if members were attending and participating, it would make our work as SCOPA very easy. Because the question we must ask ourselves is, how did we get here? And we have arrived here because portfolio committees are playing footsie-footsie with the departments. Portfolio committees are not an extension of the executive. And then all the work must then come to SCOPA for us to sort out oversight, which should have been done by portfolio committees. So that is the point of departure, to say portfolio committees must do the work so that we do not have to shoulder the burden as SCOPA. Everybody hates SCOPA but loves the portfolio committees because you are being nice, then giving everybody hugs and kisses, and not actually doing the work of oversight. But it cannot be said that SCOPA has been sitting on this report for a whole year. We are correcting something that should have been done by a portfolio committee in its oversight. So whilst people may not like the chairperson for whatever political reasons, that is fine. But I refuse for SCOPA to be painted with a brush which makes all of us look bad in that committee, when day in and day out we are holding people accountable as we should be doing, but moreover it should be work that is being done by portfolio committees. So it is our expectation, Honorable Deputy Speaker, that the 21 recommendations for the third-party fund that the SCOPA is putting forward, that the Department of the Portfolio Committee on Justice makes it a point that they see through that these recommendations are carried out. Because if they don't do that, the work will then have to come back to SCOPA. We have put a 60-day limit on that, and we want that report and the progress report so that we can be able to hold people accountable. There must be consequence management, and people who have done wrong must, be brought to book. The PFMA cannot be applied selectively and cherry pick. It must be applied from A to Z to the letter without any compromise. It is only then that we give credibility to this House, that it's not a rubber stamping institution, but one which is proactive in its approach. But we must be able to understand the due processes of Parliament, that SCOPA is not playing or exercising a role of oversight on the day-to-day affairs of departments. It is portfolio committees that are doing that. So if we do not understand the basic tenets of how we are working in this parliament, then you're gonna come and blame us. It's not, it's not nice being in Scopa because we are called, the watchdog. No one wants to be called a dog, but we're doing our work anyway. So at the end of the day, people must attend committees so that whatever utterances they make here are informed by what actually happens in committees. Let us go back to basics, back to committees. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. NFP, no member.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker, honourable members of this House. The National Freedom Party accepts the two SCOPA reports tabled here today. The overall recommendation of the two reports paint a bleak picture of the level of financial accountability of the third-party fund and the then Department of Water Affairs and the Water Trading entity. The gross incompetence in financial management addressed by the Auditor General should give rise to grave cause for concern. 2 days ago, we debated the issue of corruption in South Africa in this august House. And when we look at the reports tabled here today, we see in front of our eyes a very fertile breeding ground for corruption and financial mismanagement. The question of National Freedom Party would like to have answered is, why are State Department entities allowed to continue operating in flagrant disregard for financial procedures with impunity? Surely the senior management who are responsible for financial control ought to know the procedures and rules which they have to observe and enforce. Surely they ought to be qualified and sufficiently experienced to their job properly. The National Freedom Party would like to know why no action had been taken against the senior managers for such gross negligence of their duties. Must the Auditor General keep on calling on these senior managers to comply with financial control legislation, regulation and prescribed guidelines without any action being taken? Must COPA continue to call upon these senior managers to adhere to the recommendations of the Auditor General year after year when it is patently clear that these recommendations are ignored with impunity? Honourable Chair, such a situation cannot be allowed to continue without serious repercussions for those who are neglecting their duty. The NFP calls for swift and decisive action against those incompetent senior managers. We also call for a full investigation into the result of the financial mismanagement as pointed out in these reports to assess the degree in which this mismanagement has fueled corruption and call to account those who had benefited from such corruption. Failure to enforce accountability will continue to erode our democracy and make a mockery of the Constitution. This must not be allowed to happen. In conclusion, Honourable Deputy Speaker, the National Freedom Party supports the recommendation of the Committee on the Public Accounts to adopt the report. I thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other wish to declare? ANC?
Thank you, Chairperson. Honourable members, good afternoon. Members of other parties, they come here and say SCOPA brings report after a year. Indeed, we deal with annual reports. We are dealing with reports of 2013, 2014 of the third-party funds. The third-party funds, one of its work, is assisting the beneficiaries, which are children in most cases, who are not being supported by their parents, either by their fathers or their mothers. The committee has had the annual report from the AG, and we are concerned and worried that the TPF fund has received a disclaimer. We have noted the concern that there were no inadequate system in place to maintain records of receivable accounts and payables. Daily and monthly processing of transactions were not implemented diligently. Therefore, the committee recommends that proper records should be implemented in all courts, that daily and monthly controls should be done in all regions and ensure reliability of financial reporting, proper record system and implementation, that the national office verifies information from regional offices for accuracy and financial proper consequences for failure to comply with these consequences should be applied to those who did that. The implementation of the new account system, we also recommend as committee that should be fast-tracked and be implemented in all courts and all cash halls. The chairperson of the committee and the committee as a whole has a feeling and a view that accounting system which were supposed to be put in place by the TPF is long overdue, and that we believe that as long as the system is not in place, it will take time for the fund to operate the way it's supposed to operate and to have the desired outcome that's supposed to have. We as well welcome the signing of the new bill, which was signed by the President last week, of the blacklisting of defaulters or in the maintenance payments by the President, for the fact that it will assist the TPF in terms of managing their financial burdens which they were affecting the entity. When we come to the Department of Water Affairs and Sanitation, we have also heard that the department has had a lot of problems in terms of to provide financial system in place. And we also admit that water is a source of life, is also a natural source, as it is enshrined in the Constitution. A qualified audit opinion a qualified opinion which the AG has reported it was that there were challenges in terms of the APP which were made without the approval of the executive authority.
Thank you very much. Your time has expired.
The ANC support the report.
Thank you. Order, honorable members. The motion is that the reports be adopted. Are there any objections to the report of the Committee on Public Accounts, on 8th report, on annual report, financial statement of the third-party funds, and report of the Auditor General 2013-14 financial year? EFF?
The EFF registers its objection to the report.
The objection, in light of the objection, I now put the question. Those in favor will say aye. Those against will say no. The ayes have it. So the report is agreed to. Now I say, are there any objections to the report on public accounts, on Committee on Public Accounts, on 9th report, on annual report and financial statements of the Department of Water Affairs, Water Trading Entity, and report of Auditor General on 2013-14 financial year? Do we have any objection? No objection, agreed to. That, honorable members, concludes the business of the day and the House is adjourned.